Okay, it being 6:30, I'll call the meeting to order and look for a motion to approve the minutes of February the 21st.
I'll move that we accept the minutes as written.
I'll second.
Seconds, discussion?
They're pretty comprehensive.
I try.
I
Yes.
read that at my lunch hour today. So.
Okay, I'll go for a roll call vote. Sandy,
Yes.
Terry,
Abstain.
Mike,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Arnold,
So yes. Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Dave, yes. So that February 21 minutes are approved. Take a motion from the minutes of March the 6th.
It was such a,
You were, that was,
That was the one. I missed the one
Yeah.
before that. You're right.
Yes.
Well, I was
Yeah.
there for the one. I was
Yeah.
there for that one then.
you were there for the 21st, you were not there for the 6th.
Yes.
Okay.
So which one did I? We just-
21st.
21st.
That's okay. You abstained anyway.
You abstained.
It still passed.
It's still passed. So I need a motion for March the 6th minutes.
I'll second.
No, you go, you can say it.
So
You motion first.
I'll motion first. I'm jumping ahead.
I'll second.
All right, Sandy seconds. Discussion? Hearing none. Corey,
Yes.
Arno,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Terry,
Abstain.
Sandy.
Yes.
Dave, yes. Motion's passed.
Quick question.
Yes.
Since we've been recording all of our meetings all this time, we do allow the public, should they want, because these are obviously limited, you can't write everything that's said,
Right.
to review those videos, yes?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
posted.
They're posted.
They're posted. You can pull them.
Okay.
They're posted on the YouTube.
All right,
channel.
that's good. Good. On the YouTube channel.
Yeah, and you
Okay.
can also retrieve them from the Southbridge website.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you, Dave.
Okay, so this is a review of draft conditions of 4050.
No, you missed one. 20 North.
Oh, 20 North Street, yes, excuse me, yes.
What is 20 North?
That's the Italian club
Uh-huh.
and the water company, both of them.
Yep.
No, just the town club.
Yeah,
So,
Up?
sure.
Yeah.
you know what? Here, this chair might be better.
It's okay, thanks.
So I looked at the minutes and it just said that we thought that it should be a civil matter.
I'm not here to discuss the Foster Street address,
Oh.
the 70 Foster. I'm here to discuss 20 North Street, which is the Italian club, and the decisions made by the planning board and things that have happened since those decisions that were made by the planning board that you may not be aware of, that I brought to some of your attention back on November 2nd, 2022, when I came to the meeting to discuss multiple things of concern. And at that meeting, which the minutes are completely vague, the minutes, as you see, said D. Clemens, didn't even, that could be any Clemens, that could be anybody, but it's me. D. Clemens was concerned about a matter. Now, there was a lot of discussion that evening, so it makes me a bit concerned that so much discussion amongst board members even, concerns of things that we talked about, there was just nothing. There was no concerns. There was recommendations made by members to me of what, go talk to the fire chief or do this or do that, or was there a site, there were questions asked. Was there a site plan review? Did we ever, when we annexed the property, when we let the Italian club in 2020, which I now have the dates and all, next that piece of property next to them, why didn't we feel we needed a site review? Nobody seemed to know. Nobody had, there were a lot of questions. That's all I'm going to say. Now we're in 2024, and a lot has happened since then that you may or may not be aware of. Maybe you are aware of it. I'd be really surprised if you are and didn't question it. So I'm here as a concerned citizen and an abutter, obviously, to what's going on with the property and what has gone on with the property and what's legal, not legal, and all that good stuff. So, just to bring everybody, I have some maps and things, so you don't have to pull them up even. And of course, last time you actually pulled it up on the big screen. That was the other thing, is I have asked between Ken and Peg about it was live because Pam was on screen at the time, so there must be a recording, because I was looking to see that recording, but there seemed, besides our vague note from our meeting, there was nothing. These are some maps of the property. I don't know if anybody wants a map of the property.
So,
I would like
do
to
you mean
see-
you couldn't find the recording of the meeting?
Cable doesn't have it, and at this point, it might be that it was in Eric
That's what we're
Rumsey's
done.
files, and so Peg has been was looking for those. Yeah, it's questionable as to whether we can find that. The other concern that I would have is that I also can't find the minutes from when the board allowed that property to be annexed, which was April 15th, 2020. The minutes from that meeting, you guys don't talk much, okay? There's like 10 lines, and one of them is number 3, A&R, Italian Club North Street. L. Spinelli, motion to approve the A&R as submitted. M. Loin, second. Motion passed unanimously by voice vote. And that is it.
Do you want to address that, David, or do you want me to?
Well, that's how A&Rs are done. We don't normally,
So nobody gives you, so you just get a piece of paper and say,
We look at it
we
first.
look at it.
so there must be discussion.
Sometimes there
All
is.
we have to do on an A&R is to make sure it has adequate area and frontage and access. They're the 3 issues we have to look at.
And you don't, where's my paper? And you don't ask them what they're gonna do with, like, you don't ask
No.
anything about the
we can't.
property.
A&R plan has nothing to do with the property itself.
And we
So,
don't give
but-
them permission to annex
I
it.
gotta grab mine.
We don't give them permission.
So what do you mean, so who says it's okay to combine 2 lots? Isn't that why they come here?
Well, they have it, they had an A&R, which we approved,
Recording in progress.
Sorry.
but the fact that they
It's
would
recording
buy
on
it
there.
is not up to us. We just approved the combining, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that between those 2 lots, they complied
And you're allowed
with our zoning.
you're allowed to do an approval not required plan as long as you're not creating any new lot lines and you are combining existing lines of ownership, parcels.
Can I ask a question? Just, we're talking about when, I'm not quite sure what we're talking about because I wasn't on the board then, when the Italian Club bought the parcel that they now use as a parking lot, is that what we're talking about? And there was an approval not required for the combining,
That's the plan you're seeing right there.
combining of these 2? Okay, that's what we're talking
And
about.
that-
Okay, so, all right, so I'm clear on that now. So the Italian Club submits some sort of request,
They submit a plan.
they submit a plan.
Well, there's a form that goes along with it,
Okay,
which is filed with the town clerk,
It's called the Form A.
and when I was sitting back there, I used to attach them. I don't know if Eric did or not, but I know that I had one, and the town clerk has one, but the most important thing is that the town clerk has it.
right. Okay, so that being the case, all right, so that's great. So when does it come to your attention when somebody is doing something against a bylaw? Just by happenstance?
Yes.
Somebody has to complain, or the
Complaint to the building
building
inspector.
inspector has to tell us, but he doesn't necessarily come even back to us.
Okay, so in 2022, I came here and I questioned what was going on. I questioned the fact that they were eliminating their handicap space. I questioned the fact, which is not under your purview. I questioned, although a site plan in general, and that's what came up was, well, wait a minute, they're changing their plot, they're changing their parking, they're changing their, the existing parking lot, we should maybe do a site plan, we should request a site plan review from the Italian Club. And that's what, and with all the other stuff that we talked about that evening, lots of
Yeah,
it.
I
like said.
remember it.
I'm glad somebody remembers, that's good. And I understand A&R much better now, because I just assumed, or N, or whatever you want to,
Yeah.
I just assumed that there was more conversation as to why somebody would want to combine 2 lots, or what they might do with them, but that's okay, I get that. So now, if we move forward then, on all the, and I can assure you, and I can give you a couple of things, there was a lot of discussion with the Italians, because we have minutes, in their meetings, in regard to creating new parking. Now, they might not have been forthcoming with you, what their intentions were, but that's, so, they have,
Nothing's come before
But
this
see,
board
that's-
about
so let me
parking.
cut to the chase.
Go ahead.
They have created, not only did they close off, as we said, they did a permanent oh shoot, I just dawned on me, I need to, I don't have the piece. They did a permanent bollard and changed their entire parking situation on the existing site before they annexed, and they just did that in '23. And they've also now, to their own acknowledgement, they have created 14 new parking spaces on that adjacent lot that's now Part 1. So they have what is in your bylaws under site plan approval, 2.6.2 applicability. You have site plan review shall apply to the following. Major site plan review by the planning board. There are 4 options, and number 4, construction, expansion, redesign, or alteration of an existing parking area involving the addition of 10 or more new parking spaces.
So they didn't come
They
before
did.
us.
Nope.
And they are using that situation to try to get out of, as I've said before, one little parking space for people with disabilities. They have been fighting that one with Mike Julian, with our inspections department now since before last year,
Saying that they don't want to have.
saying that they don't need to have it now because they have less than 15 spaces, which they created on their own. However, had they had a site plan review to make all these alterations, the planning board might have said, absolutely not, there's no good reason in the world for you to do that. Because as they've acknowledged in legal proceedings, there has not, they created a walkway for safety reasons, but they have not had one, they cannot provide information of one documented case of accidental injury to anybody in their driveway. So I have pictures of their property for people. You might want to, there's different dates, shows you what it was before, what it is now, whoever might want something.
Thank you.
There's some different versions of this, and I realized that I did not bring one thing with me tonight, but don't worry, you'll get it.
Maybe I can
It says-
share with
Sure you
you.
can.
So you're gonna fill us in on what they've done
Please.
since we saw them?
Copies, yeah, of what's on computer. I
And
can't
at the
remember.
time, if
Sorry,
you
it's been a
recall,
crazy day.
it was referred to the building zoning enforcement officer
I saw
to
that.
determine if they had to come in for a
Site plan review.
site plan review. And that's where it was left. I
Mm-hmm. Right.
remember it that evening, I remember that, I don't know if that ever
More
got,
pictures, anybody, I got.
I don't know if it ever got forwarded from our old,
Oh, I'll take one.
our ex-town planner
Sorry, I'll get an extra.
to
Holy
Mike
crap.
That's where
Julian.
the bocce ball is.
So, and I can, there's a little history to some of this too, that I personally was asked about, and I think, I don't know if I brought it up the last time, but long about 1819, somewhere in there, Rosemary was still on. I was a phone call in my kitchen by Mr. Scoccarelli. Scoccarelli called me and said, hey Denise, we've got a problem here. We're thinking of buying the lot next door. That's that grassy lot you see there. There had been a house, there had been a fire, it became vacant. They were renting that lot for excess parking on occasion. They were leasing that lot, to my understanding. He called me personally and said, we're thinking of buying the lot, but Rosemary's telling us we need to have this whole plan, stormwater and all kind, we're not even near a river or anything, but we've got to have this whole plan. And I said, well, what are you gonna do there? And he said, well, we're just gonna, it's overflow for events. I said, well, are you gonna pave it? Are you gonna, no, we're not gonna do any of that. We're just gonna, we might grade it a little, make it better. I said, okay, that makes sense. He says, we might bring in a little bit, put a little gravel down, processed gravel. I said, yeah, that's legal to do. I said, it's got a curb cut, and it's, it's flat, whatever, I don't see what the big deal is. She goes, oh, she's making us do a plan like the hospital's doing on the corner of Sales and South. Gotta have this big plan for water mitigation, or whatever it is, whatever he went on. And I said, hang on, Scott, because I kind of thought we were friendly at the time, and I bought jewelry from him. But anyway, I said, let me work on this. So I came into I didn't go to the town, I didn't go to any big head. I just went to the inspections department, and I said, hey, question. People have a piece of property, they're not moving earth more than 10 yards or 9 yards or whatever it is, because I know when I built my house that you move earth, and then you have to have a permit the minute you're moving all this earth in or out or whatever. So I said, there's a curb cut, they want to park some cars on there occasionally for overflow events. Do they really need a full-blown plan? And no, because they weren't paving it, they weren't making it impermeable, They weren't doing anything crazy to it. It was just supposed to be extra parking, not the parking. So I called Scott back up. I said, Scott, you're fine. You're free to go. I mean, don't let Rosemary bully you. Oh, yeah, it was like, and lo and behold, it went on. In 19, they bought the property. And then in their minutes, they talk about needing to go to the planning board to find out what they need to do. And then eventually they come to you guys on 4/20, 2020, 4/15, 2020, and you approve the combination. So
Yeah.
now they got the combination. Now they also put, I don't know if you're aware of this, but they also put a large container they brought in by, I don't know if putting an additional room on a building requires permits, but again, whose oversight, I don't know.
That requires a permit,
Well-
that container does.
Yeah, well, they,
See, unfortunately, it all comes down to code enforcement.
right.
And
I
we don't-
understand.
we don't
You don't
have-
enforce code, but you do enforce site plans.
We
Or you don't enforce them, you,
review
You
them,
review
but we
them.
can't, you
But
know.
when you review 'em,
the
you can-
building zoning enforcement officer has to tell them that they have to go before the town for,
Which is Mike Julian?
yes.
right. But,
So-
and he, right now, currently, he's already denied their access plan. By the way, I'll show you, very interesting. They are now,
He should be forcing them to apply for site plan review to the planning board. The
So-
way I look at it, it's over 10 parking spaces.
So-
It specifically says it in our bylaws.
so last time I was here, it sounded like we should be making them come up for site plan review.
Yeah,
We, as in the board. So the board
But
doesn't do that.
the board does not do
You don't
that.
send a letter to
Yeah,
him?
Eric would have been the one to tell Mike.
Eric would have to go to Mike and tell Mike that the board has issues, and because he is the zoning enforcement officer.
So we
Okay.
can do that through Ken to Mike tonight.
Correct.
But did Eric do it?
Did Eric do it? We
No,
don't know.
'cause-
There's a
'cause
lot, there's a
Mike
lot of
would-
things,
I
a
believe-
lot of things that weren't done that we thought
I believe
were
Mike
done.
would have told me when I went in about ADA compliance.
Yeah.
Because currently, they have they have legal that is, did you print that? So that's not mine.
I don't think I-
Too many papers.
And.
So they are trying to utilize, just so you know, they are trying to utilize the Center of Hope as their, yeah, it's right here. So they have an architect who came back to them with all the this is how I can tell you that legally, they say the only parking that you have under your lawful control is your lower lot, which only has 14 parking spaces. And that's the legal paper that they tried to, it's not legal, it's an architect, sent to Mike about ADA compliance. And Mike's saying,
Mike Julian.
Mike Julian, he's like, that still doesn't comply. Well, we're gonna use the parking space that, over at Center of Hope, well, it's 250 feet. And it's across the street with a 6th grade or whatever. It
Which
doesn't
is
comply.
against code.
Why aren't they using the back here for their ADA spaces?
So by the pictures, so yeah, let's go, it's kind of funny.
That's
Under
the
the tent.
bocce,
So
well, no,
let's-
this is the bocce ball.
Okay, so I can run you, when you look at the dates,
I've never been there, so-
let's see, isn't there
Bocce
one?
ball, never
In
been
18, oh, by the way, you see all these cars in 18 parked over by the town-owned water company building?
Yeah.
Those cars were, that parking area, all of it, was leased to the Center of Hope by the Italian Club.
Oh my goodness.
Municipal property was leased to
even
the
their
Center of
property.
Hope from 15 to 18.
From
It's le-
2015 to 2000.
They have admitted
They
to
didn't
this.
even own
They believe they owned it. I'm not sure how that suddenly occurred between 15 and 18, that they suddenly owned the town's
Well,
property.
I own the Brooklyn Bridge, you know.
Well, I'm just telling you that they have
For
legal
you.
documents, that they had a lease, and they've put it in writing legally, that they thought they owned it because they leased it to the Center of Hope.
Wait a minute, hold on. So
Just letting you know.
Adverse possession?
Yes, right, from
Yeah,
the
but
town, from a
if-
municipality.
If they did it over 20 years.
It has to be
it would-
20 years,
Yeah.
notorious,
Yeah.
notorious, open,
Yeah.
there's 5 different
Yes,
things.
category.
Yeah.
Yes, and you have to meet them all, without shadow of a doubt, you know. Okay, so anyway, you go back to 18, you see the grass was a permeable situation, you didn't have to worry about it there.
Yeah.
And then you move forward to, the pictures in 2022 just shows you that they decided they should have a walkway and they put up a tent. Their minutes in 23 indicate that they were concerned that, so a complaint was made. If you look at this picture and you see the handicap lines and all that, That wasn't, originally their handicap was alongside the building.
Yeah.
But they were having issues with handicapped people trying to turn their cars around and get out, right? Because they had put up barriers and blocked their own turnaround. And I happen to know that somebody did complain. It wasn't me, but somebody complained to the architectural board people.
Access board.
Access board, yes. And suddenly, out of the blue, that spring, lines showed up and there was a parking sign for handicap. However, when they put up that tent in May, June-ish, that was a problem. It was up for August, but it was put up in the spring. I took these pictures from a window up on the neighboring building.
Did they get a permit to put it up?
No, the permit, it was brought to the attention downstairs that because Autumn Fest had to have a contractor, a CSL, and permits for a one-day event, if anything bigger than a 10 by 10. And I questioned whether they had a permit, and lo and behold, there was nothing on file. And they got letters, which I have in from them for months, for 2 months before their big picnic, to comply and to get a permit and to do all this stuff. They never did. They took a permit out in September, 2 weeks after the event happened. It wasn't closed down. Not that I wanted the event closed down. I just feel like some of us comply with the rules and some of us don't. And I'm bringing, so now in their minutes they say, well, some people are questioning, ooh, we got to have a handicap space. And then somebody else says in their minutes, yeah, but do we really want it under the tent? Because now they have to worry about their tent. And that's when they kind of went, I'd say, balls to the walls of getting this architect, and then all that stuff started coming in last fall. And to my surprise, when I requested some documentation recently, like in the last few days, it is still an issue, and I was applauding our inspections that they were staying on this. And apparently we have a new building inspector, we have a new person, Ted.
Oh, Ted Tatro?
Ted Tatro. I can't say his name.
Ted is
Tatro.
coming on board here.
Webster,
Yeah, so apparently he also agreed, there's an issue with that, with what they're trying to do. So these are a lot of things going on with one property, and they really don't need to have all this issue because, their neighbors did offer a beautifully done out plan for them with greens and with proper parking spaces and with all kinds of things. And for some reason, they've just put it upon themselves. But my main concerns, and if the letter comes, it'll say in there, you got two things. One, you have the 10 or more spaces. So currently they're in a major site review situation. And two, they permanently changed by installing a concrete bollard, which is in the other pictures.
And it also looks like they might have paved it.
Well,
Did they pave it?
No.
Yeah,
They put
but
some,
it's
we
the
offered
tailings, it's the
it.
tailings.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
put the
yes.
they put the regrind in, but you know what, that still changes
It
the
did
coefficient of runoff.
So
Yeah,
let me
but
tell
then-
you what happened with that. I question that. So if you see in 1 year, the first one of the pictures on you see you guys are on the third page. So if you look at the earlier picture, 22, you see a pile of grinding stuff there. You see it's very loose looking. And then you look at 23, and suddenly it looks quite smooth, and it's been painted. So one or two things. Yeah, the grindings could have just melded together a bit, but I'm also told that they could have put in, there's a binder that you can put in to make it really happy and hard. I questioned the dumpster being on an impermeable surface.
The dumpster for
I questioned, from a health standpoint, you're supposed to have a concrete pad, something solid under a dumpster. I asked Dan. Dan went and looked at things and said, well, that's solid down there. So that's when a difference seemed to have happened between one time and another. So now it's a pretty solid surface. If you actually go there, there's some pebbles floating around still, but it's pretty darn hard.
impervious.
So I'm just saying, and you can clearly see the attached storage unit they put on. But anyway,
That trailer is the new room on the side.
Yep, that they did
So
when
they
they first
can-
bought the.
So they can access that from the inside?
It was supposedly connected, according to their minutes, they were going to put a container and connect it so they added a room to the building, a traversing room. Now, whether anybody's inspected that, I don't know, but
And did
They
they put
lowered
a
it with
permit,
a-
I wonder?
I wouldn't know.
So the inspections department would have to do.
I do know that their taxes, their tax filings don't show any changes, which to the plot. And I found that a little disturbing so you got 2022, which it might not have happened, you know. Now, if they have that other property already, in 2024, I thought for sure.
See, what
Would
happened,
show them
what
having
happened
another
is
lot.
they did it, they combined it by paper, but chances are they probably never went to an attorney and deeded it to combine this into one contiguous lot. And if they didn't do that,
Now what?
Well, wait
it's
a
still
minute
two
though.
separate lots.
When,
But
When you
this
do,
has been, this went to the,
it says it was signed, it was all date stamped.
But
this has been recorded,
it's been recorded.
Yeah.
Makes no difference, it doesn't, that,
They never, they always record it with the new deed.
no, you can record a plan without a deed. I used to do it all the time, record the plans.
So then they did either one of two things. One, they created and reconfigured and altered and added 10 spaces, which is under major jurisdiction. Two, they just eliminated all their spaces and really started the new parking lot in their other property. And now they took away all their parking from their site plan, which
Frankly,
serves
they-
liquor and is open to the public.
Probably should lose the bocce ball court, if that's the case.
So, I bring this to you with, it's, you know, whatever's gonna happen with us, gonna happen. Honestly, I feel like if we can't live nicely with our neighbors, you know, if they don't think good quality housing, not low income, not 40B projects, not Section 8 projects aren't acceptable, and they're gonna go through this much upset in the name of what, I'm not sure. It does indicate through minutes that I don't think all club members are aware of everything that went on. But that's not, you know, I'm not there talking to everybody, just a lot of them.
The Jersey barrier is on the right.
Jersey
location?
Barrier's on their side.
It is.
It is on their side.
All right.
Is to our knowledge, according to the plan. But the first time they held,
Jersey barrier being this long is basically a structure.
And you have
I'm
access
sorry,
now
it's,
to your parking
only illegally,
because,
we're going over the curb. Because we want to come to you at some point with our whole project, but until we can sort out this mess with the entrance, we're not going to ask for a curb cut, because that makes no sense. You know, when we might be able to still get along with our neighbors. We would like to get along with our neighbors. We would like very much anybody who might watch this, anybody out there who wants to see the proposed plan, that all we asked for was just don't build a Jersey barrier in the middle of our properties, and we will make you a beautiful walkway all the way to the back. You could still have an access to a space. We'll let you put your dumpster on our property if you want more parking down there. We'll pave and in perpetuity maintain and put that in the deed for the next person. We offered all this, and when they have their
I think,
picnics, when they have
Denise,
their
before
picnics,
you
they
go,
could use it.
I know you did the offer, everything else. We, as a planning board, have to look at this on a legal standpoint.
Right.
Number one, the alterations that are done on this property, would we have any other person or any other property owner in town file for a site plan review? The answer is yes, because it meets the criteria of 10 or more parking spaces. Plus, it's altering the drainage from impervious to more pervious. It might not be totally impervious, but it changes that. It changes access, and it changes the container on the building. We would not have approved that container on the building like that. I can tell you right now as a planning board.
Well, and also, how do we know what's under what's supporting the container? I mean, how do we even know? Because nobody reviewed it.
The problem, and the issue came back with, when Denise came last time, we asked Eric to go to the building inspector, the zoning enforcement officer, to review and ask them to file that they need a site plan review.
And I thought also at the time when you came, that you weren't sure where that dividing line was, where the Jersey barriers are
Well-
now. There was a little question there about
I'm
who
taking,
owns
they
what,
say
you
it's
know?
on their side. We have a line. There, I
Yeah,
mean, there's a
there-
property line. That exists within the property. There's no
but a
question.
shared driveway.
It's
It was a
it's
shared
always
driveway.
been,
Well,
yeah.
that becomes the
So-
issue, is there
So
was
there's
no
the
deed.
property line here.
Right. But
So
it
that's why we can't get access to the driveway. We're working on that in the court system. We're hoping, we'd rather not be, but we are working on that in the court system.
That's what we discussed.
As far as
when we were here.
access.
We discussed
And we
it.
knew that was a civil issue or whatever, and that's just fine with us. We're gonna, like I said, you know, maybe it's immigrant housing that should just go there. There'd probably be no cars involved. But, you know, whatever. Somebody's gonna make money. But I'd rather not. I'd rather we have our plan. It's 10 or 11, depending on the final, deal of this. And we've put a lot in, but again, not here for that. So all we would like to have seen is that there be a central line that is never barricaded with Jersey barriers or with a permanent
See, and the thing
structure.
is, even with the planning board, when they come to us, we can't make that decision.
Oh, I
As
understand
a
that.
planning board.
I know that.
It becomes an issue of title, of
Prescriptive easement.
legal access, prescriptive easement, what is it, easement
Right
that's
of
been
passage.
used
Since
openly
1880.
for a period
And
of land?
so they shouldn't have put up the barriers and they will not.
Well, somebody should have enforced that they didn't do it until there was a legal court deal, if you ask me. Just my layperson opinion here is, how is it we're in a court, waiting for the court to decide what it is, and they could block it off while waiting, and put in a bollard, a permanent cement structure, that can be taken out, of course, but that they even did that, and that's.
The permanent structure, I think, could be an issue for them, but
Yeah.
legally, that's a legal
Yeah.
issue.
So we're waiting for that, there's a big process there, we have to get into
But in the
depositions
meantime,
and stuff.
if we look at the way the
Thanks.
site plan is now, they should be filing a site plan application
Yeah.
to the planning board for what is, they know is their actual property at this time.
So
And
what their property is that they know of
right
now.
Yeah, in other words, showing the Jersey barriers, showing all that stuff, and then us as a board has to look at it in relationship to our bylaws and say, okay, no, we're not gonna allow this, yes, we're gonna allow this, you have to do drainage, analysis, you have to do a structural analysis. This could,
Handicap.
require handicap analysis, this could require many studies, and I'm looking at it, and it probably will, because there are a lot of questions that should be addressed, that should have been addressed by the zoning enforcement. I mean, unfortunately, Mike's been working with them on the handicap. I don't know why he hasn't.
I
done
know,
this by
I
now.
was gonna say,
I haven't actually brought, my review, just so you know, of the zoning bylaws, I went finally into that area and went, wait a minute, because if I'm coming back to you, I might as well, I found my copy, nice and fresh, like I haven't used it, and I went, wait a minute, site plan review, it's right there, I can find it, easy, and then when I first saw that, I went, you gotta be kidding, why am I arguing anything? They altered a parking lot, it's like, they made a parking lot, and they changed the parking lot, it's like a no-brainer, but I don't know why I
so
didn't see
I'm gonna
this
just
a year
finish,
ago.
because
I'm
I have an
sorry.
idea. And I'm not sure if this could be done. But could we address a letter to Mike Julian saying that we believe there are nebulous issues with this, and CC it to the town manager and ask if the town attorney could look at it to see if there's anything that the town could do?
Well, I
don't know.
think it's
Like even a letter or something.
It's blatantly obvious. It does not meet site plan. They added
Yeah.
more than 10 parking spaces. That alone
Right
triggers
there.
site plan. So
Yeah.
you know what? The building inspector should issue a site plan that has to be filed within 30 to 60 days or something. And then at that point, if it's not filed at that point, he has the right to do a cease and desist.
Can we would we take a vote on that to have Ken write a letter to Mike Julian? Is that how it works?
It doesn't need to be that way, but we can do it.
Or-
I mean, it's just that it
becomes a
has
legal
to be.
paper trail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think your vote will confirm the fact that as a board, you are
Yeah.
determining
Concern.
that.
If you notice,
Yes.
the A&R plan, there's also, and the surveyors, they all do this, and that's why I look for it. It says boundaries shown are the results of an actual field survey performed. Boundaries are based on available maps, deeds, and record of physical evidence, but are subject to all easements, right-of-ways, agreements, and rights and encumbrances of record that an accurate and thorough title search may disclose. So your
We've done it,
title.
yeah, that's the problem. So we, to our knowledge, have not been able to come up with anything that shows an easement. All we can come up with is the history. 1880, Central Mills built a building. I got pictures. They used it for storage and all, and the train was right there, which is why that side, which is interesting because people don't realize, why is that door so high on the Foster Street side? Because the trains were right there, and they could just unload right there. That's why they had an elevator, because they brought things over to the back big doors, they stored them, they carried them up the elevator to 3 floors if they chose. From that point, it went to Mr. Spalding in 1940, sold off a portion of the land. That's when the land got divided. Unfortunately, Mr. Spalding probably didn't think about an easement because he's still using the building, and whoever he sold, the Italians, he bought it, he sold it to the Italian club because they wanted to build, he must have been friends with them, they wanted to build a clubhouse, whatever. So they did that, they built it. Mr. Spalding continued to work. He then sold it to Bousquet Auto Parts. Bousquet Auto Parts ran a commercial, not so much retail as it was a commercial auto parts store for all the various people who needed things for their garages and whatever to repair vehicles. And they in turn also used it for storage, because I again spoke to some historians here and relatives of the Bousquet family. So they stored things, and they had a full-blown commercial retail store. That lasted till 60 or so when there was a fire, and in 62 is when the Bousquets, actually they had died, and it was their estate that sold it to the water company, the official Southbridge Water Company group, whoever, there was lots of people involved there. And they
Be vocal.
I know, right? And they were in that building actively working as a water company for the entire community until 1990.
Oh, after that.
1990 when the town,
It was 1989.
80, yeah, it's in there.
Yeah.
I don't have that document with me. But anyway, the town bought it.
89.
The town bought it and stayed in that building, according to another water company employee. These people will be deposed for our thing. Until about 2009. They had moved all the stuff in the late
2009
90s.
they had storage in there because
85,
I
I
went in
believe they
there.
built. Right. In the late 90s, they moved the billing. Francine came here and they moved all the billing stuff to Town Hall. And they still ran the water company itself out of there. So meters and customers
Oh, yeah.
could still go in for water issues or whatever. They went to that building. Then in 09, they were officially out and they were at Gulfwood Road. So then in 09 to 15, the town rented the bottom of that building to the Center of Hope for storage of corrugated products and such. And then in 15, and we didn't, not much rent and all that. And then in 15, pipes burst because, as I was told by DPW people, by water company people, that the town was going to continue to make sure everything was good, but apparently they screwed up once and didn't put oil, and the heat went down and the pipes burst. And then I was on council too, and we told St. Angelo, look, let's just mothball it, winterize it, do whatever for right now. However, in 16, somewhere along the line, we decided that we should find out what the building was worth to fix and all. So we had Ty and Bond, I believe it was. I have those notes all at home. They went in and they did a complete assessment of that building. Actually, I think I have that. They did a complete assessment of the building. I have my notes. And they, in 17, they provided that assessment to the town, and it said it was going to be like $4 million to fix, and the town said, yeah, right, let's. By the way, the town tried to sell it in 2010 with Chris Clark, advertised it with great garage bay doors in the back for access. And then in 13, Chris Clark again tried to advertise it on his own. We have records of that in minutes. And then, as I said, in 15, well, let's not do anything. 16, well, let's get a work on. And then for somehow in 16 to 17, we went out for bid for windows.
That's because we got a.
Rosemary and Rose.
No, that was under me.
Well,
that was
according to the
we
notes
got
I got.
CDBG funding
Right.
in order because it was contributing to slum and blight.
Right, but one day I drove into town and said, why are there windows going in a mothballed building? I had no idea. And I called Gus Steves and said, Gus, do you know anything about the windows? And he said, what windows? And I went, I don't know, but I see Menard Glass and I see these contractors. So by 17, the windows were finished. 18, the RFP was finally paid. And 19, we bought the building. So the building's been quite
And that's the
active since
reason
1880.
why we did the windows. The building was contributing to slum and blight, and the argument was that if we fixed the windows, and we also took the ivy off.
Yes,
because that was
we have
destroyed.
some, actually, I have some great pictures of
And
that.
then it would be saleable, which it was, because you bought it.
Can I ask a question?
I'll give you my reasons.
Can I ask a question? So I'm following this history right now. This map, is that where's the Italian club?
Right there.
This is the Italian club.
And the little square is what they bought. which is 60 by 90, 5,400
Yeah,
square
right
feet.
there.
Okay.
And if you do the
And,
math for how
and
many.
this is,
That's right.
this is Denise's building,
Yeah.
and this is a parking space that belongs to Denise's
Yes.
Right.
building. But
The
the
old-
Italian club between 2015 and 2018 was renting out this space, believing that they owned it?
Yeah.
Okay, but in 2016-17, while they were renting it out to the Center for Hope,
We were doing
Sandy Ackley was putting in windows
Right.
into
Well,
the building.
I wrote the grant.
Into the building that owns that parking
Yeah.
space.
And they were
Do you see what I'm
utilizing-
saying?
Yeah, ignorance is not, or whatever,
So,
you know, it's not the
I mean,
above the law.
this is
or whatever
incredibly
they say.
inconsistent. I don't,
I think no matter
the
what,
pocket.
where we are on the situation, I think you
need a
have to
site
start
plan.
somewhere. It is the building inspector or the zoning enforcement officer has to issue a letter stating that the alterations that have been made over the past few years, because have to be brought before the board, and a site plan review application has to be submitted in accordance with the
With what
town's,
they've been doing.
with the town's bylaws.
So do you want to make a motion
If you can make that a motion, I'll make it.
that we, I'll
And
second.
and just for the record,
The chair
this
will
has
second.
nothing to do with,
No, it's
I mean, Denise brought it to our attention, has nothing to do with easement, parking, access on her property. It is what is going on the Italian Club property that has not followed our site plan review process.
Someone's making bad
I'll
choices.
second your motion, Mike. Oh, okay.
I mean, that's really seconding.
A lot of seconds. You're popular.
Do we have any more discussion?
Have you done the research to see if Eric, in his wisdom, didn't issue a letter saying that didn't need that?
I was unable to find anything related to
You can't
And-
find
20
anything
north.
Eric did.
And
Other
Eric,
than the A&R that was.
and Eric was doing the minutes.
Yeah, you saw the minutes.
122
Eric was avoiding
That
anything.
is,
You know what, though? Could I address the minutes?
property line?
Yeah.
that is, this is.
Lawrence
the-
Chandler
the-
told me a long time ago,
The frontage, the
legally,
remaining frontage that goes up here.
when you are doing the minutes,
All the way up.
you have to
Oh,
say the
probably up in the
date,
corner.
the time, where it was, who was there, who made a motion, who seconded it, who voted how. And she said that's all you have to do. Well, some people flesh it out. For instance, and she told me it was okay to do this, but she didn't recommend it. I would, so there's discussion like we're having now, and what I would do is, I would paraphrase that, because sometimes the attorneys want our minutes, so they would be paraphrased. And I think, and I know that Anna Smith also did that. And I don't know who did them after her, but it might have been,
I questioned Eric on the vagueness of the minutes,
Yeah.
and he said that
He-
it was.
legally, he-
Legally, it was, he's doing what was required.
but the fact is that you thought we didn't talk because there wasn't anything in there, and that's not true. We do a lot of talking, as you can tell.
Right. So to that point, having served on council for 9 years and having gone through the open meeting law stage of reasoning, which wasn't as much adhered to, truth, you know, way back, no disparaging, Florence, I know it's a great woman. We were told that at times the minutes, we had those types of minutes going on. And I'd look and I'd say, well, why do we even have a secretary if it's how many people and who voted what on something? That's pretty basic. Why do you even pay somebody? Because you can just, that's easy enough. And it, according to all the MMA meetings, which I went to a lot of them, and I actually went to one even after I was out of office, and I went always to the legal review one, which was always really interesting, and they would talk about the requirements. And they said, a reasonable person has to be, there aren't too many in the world, right, would have to be able to look at that and kind of see what was going on. So my concerns was always that, you know, I talked a lot tonight, I'm sorry, but Denise Clements raised concerns about A, B, C, D, E, done. Chairman Payer, cited the board, whatever. And Mike Loyne recommended we did this, and there was a lot of discussion and concern about the comments that were made. I mean, something like, at least just
Discussion followed.
discussion followed.
Paraphrasing is what I.
It's paraphrasing, but if there's somebody who makes a statement that's
Well-
Pertinent, thank you, that's the word. You should quote it, because that's what needs to be quoted.
Part of that also, I think,
It's-
came
it's gotta
to
be
when they
reasonable.
started taping and videotaping the meetings,
Yep.
okay?
But you can't find them sometimes.
I agree, and that's.
That's a problem, because that's an
The
open
issue.
meeting law problem.
I totally agree.
But I can tell you, nobody seems to report things anymore, which is really amazing to me, because boy, they were right. You could just say one thing wrong and you were getting a phone call from ethics or from somebody. So it's sad though, because you should say, geez, did they think it was a good idea or a bad idea what they did? You know, it's hard to, it's even hard to get the
I
feel of
remember
the group.
specifically asking, at
Yeah.
that meeting, asking Eric, and the board, I think, made a I don't know if it was a motion or not. We
don't
made a
remember.
consensus to ask the building inspector to look into it and verify that if a site plan was required.
Right,
I don't know if it has to come from Tetro or if it comes from Mike, but
yeah.
because of the legalness of the positions.
Well, I think Mike's gonna talk to
Who
him anyway.
who is
regardless
the,
where the village-
well, Ted is the
Ted's
licensed,
working with him on
Yeah.
it.
Ted is the licensed
God bless you.
building inspector, but you don't have to be licensed to be a zoning enforcement officer.
Right, I think,
Teddy Tatro is the building commissioner,
Commissioner.
and Mike is the building inspector.
Right.
Okay, so
the
it's
more
this
local.
has gotta go up to Teddy.
Yeah.
I think this is above Mike even on
I
this
think
one.
the zoning enforcement officer also in the bylaw is established by vote of town council. So if there is a change, then that presumably will happen.
So I did write an official
Well, wait a
letter.
second here. I've got
Oh,
I have a
okay.
motion and a second.
Oh, sorry, you're still.
Corey,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes,
Terry,
Yes.
Sandy.
Yes,
Dave, yes. Motion passes.
Okay. So I did do an official letter. There's a few copies. I don't know if people want to read it. One to you. That's the.
You want this family of these?
Nope. You can keep anything I gave you. Oh, you know, did I give you the big one? That's why I didn't have it. I'm like, I'm missing my big paper. I look like an idiot trying to find my paper. It was the big one. I'd written a request, basically.
this is a letter to the.
It was to you guys, basically, just like,
Thank you.
hey, you know, this is what I'm seeking by being here tonight, really.
So,
I kind
for
of.
the record, I think it should be read into the record.
Okay. This is received from Denise Clements on March 12th, 2024, Southbridge Planning Board, 41 Elm Street, Southbridge, Mass. 01550. Dear members, it is requested that the planning board issue a major site plan review to the property known as 20 North Street, Italian American Association, in accordance with the Town of Southbridge Code of Zoning Bylaws dated November the 5th, 2018, Section 2.6, Site Plan Approval. 2.62 reads applicability, A.4. Construction, expansion, redesign, or alteration of an existing parking area involving the addition of 10 or more new parking spaces. By their own admission, ITAM have created 14 new parking spaces on their site without regard to town laws. In addition, they have altered an existing parking area and created a permanent change of use by installing a concrete bollard directly in front of an existing driveway curb cut. Doing so eliminated numerous existing parking spaces and the ability to promptly locate a handicap parking space within legal distance of the only public accessible entrance to their building as required by law. All evidence in the documents provided. I ask that the planning board evaluate all the changes that have occurred since its vote on April 15th, 2020 that allowed the ITAM site to annex the neighboring property without an A&R.
With
It was with an
an
A&R.
A.
Oh, okay, I can change that.
I just
Can
need
we
to-
amend that?
You do need to amend it because
And you'll have to
we did
sign it.
not allow them to annex the
You
Without-
didn't need, they didn't, but an A&R's approval not required,
Required.
which
Of
is
the
what you
plan.
said yet, right, of
Not
the plan.
not of the acquisition.
Right, okay, I'm sorry. So I learned something tonight.
Yeah.
I'm happy to change.
Even more so the changes that have been made since the planning board meeting on November the 2nd, 2022. From 2022 to 2024, major site changes have taken place without regard to town and state laws. Our community needs oversight and compliance and deserves no less. Thank you for your consideration of my request. Respectfully submitted, Denise Clements. Please just,
Have
I would
fix
just
something,
change
yeah,
it,
'cause I-
initial it, and a copy of that should go to
just do the,
I'll just cross it out.
Ted and
Ju-
Mike
just do-
also.
You didn't allow it, so.
Yeah, it's with, but
With
if
and-
it's
with.
out, it has to go out.
Yeah.
Okay, just the with,
And
okay.
then just
With
initial
an
that
and,
and-
okay, sorry, yeah, with an, you're right, okay, I'm sorry. Okay. I thought I did it okay.
Let me make a copy of that. And I'll give one to Denise.
I can do them all. All right, so that's all I got.
So on the tax standpoint, though, this is.
Yeah, I might-
Well, this creates even more of an issue for site plan review, because if these two lots were not combined, now they're in even worse zoning, because you cannot, you're creating a parking lot on a pre-existing non-conforming
Residential.
alteration lot.
I was
It was
hoping that
awesome.
wasn't the case.
Okay, so
Because
I'm
that
sorry, but
noise-
this could be even more of a can of worms than we even think it is.
Yeah.
And the
So
thing
what do
is,
they need to
there's-
do, just put the deed
no,
together?
there's gonna have to be this parcel in order, there should have been a deed combining the parcel, the small parcel to the big parcel to form one contiguous lot.
Right,
And if the deed was not, a plan does not constitute a combination. So, but it could be,
It has to be taken out legally done.
yeah, no,
I mean,
After.
it could be considered when two lots are against each other, good example in the past, if there was an old lot and a lot's existing, which this was, and it becomes common ownership, theoretically, there's a gray area, does it become automatically a contiguous lot? It depends on if they're in the exact same name, which it looks like they are, that might have,
You mean now or
come.
then?
Right now. It looks
now
like-
they are.
Now they are, because they're in the same name. It might be, there's some section in the thing that it might be a reversion because they're common ownership. This was under the size zoning lot, so it now automatically creates a contiguous lot. You might want to check with that, but
Yeah, well, I mean.
on the standpoint, they're both on the
I
same
wouldn't want
lot.
that to be a problem for them. I mean, the other stuff.
No,
that
the
they
thing
do
is, are
comply with,
they
I
taxed
hope
as
they're
two
con-
separate parcels, or
Oh,
are they
right.
taxed as a single
So
parcel?
we have to ask.
Yeah,
Because the question is the intent of this plan and was recorded to form one contiguous lot.
But it still doesn't
Did
show
they
up
do
on the
it?
24th.
But I
Do
mean,
you
that
have
may-
those
that tells
property
me
records, because
there
the
probably
deeds
wasn't a
are on
deed.
there.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, is there a deed
You
after
know, the
that?
other thing is, did you say
I had
that
so
that
much more, I
box
didn't bring
is
everything.
permanent?
The what?
That box that they added?
The baller.
The bollard, it's a round
No, no, no,
bollard.
the
The
box for
container.
Oh, the
storage of
container,
junk.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
much.
That's permanent, that's adding to a
Yeah,
pre-existing
no, and if
non-con,
I
that's
ha-
adding to the,
I agree.
They talk about wanting to do it, I'm not sure if it's in this one.
And it's not on their tax returns as increase in square footage of the building?
Well, not if nobody went and bothered to do it. I mean,
I just asked because you said you had the 23, you had the 2022 and 2023.
Yeah, it didn't, it looked like the land increased, like something increased, but it didn't say, it didn't, the footprint didn't change. They didn't, yeah, there's no footprint
Right,
change on the
right.
building, it's still a
right.
rectangle.
And the thing of
So
it is,
just
so
to be nasty.
then we could say that it's not permanent. However, there's no change,
Here's all their minutes from 19.
there's no change in the
Deed?
deed.
Yeah, so
Let's
apparently they did a
see,
plan, but they
spreadsheet.
never deeded it to form one contiguous lot.
Future project to place a storage container adjacent to the club building on the side of a vacant lot recently purchased by the club. So they've recently, right, and a cut door into the side of it for access from inside the club building. They could use a container, which could be up to $2,000 to buy, and I know that. Members discussed the container, possible ways to access
Now you
this. They
can't
discussed building the container, which would be complicated, the president, let's see, blah, blah, blah. Necessary, because they're gonna need a crane and cutting a door to complete the project. So whether or not it's officially connected, I haven't looked at this.
Or
but
whether
that's-
it's considered
It could still
permanent.
be, it's permanent, but it will still be an outbuilding, or something like that.
But isn't there a
Still taxable.
regulation around outbuildings and how
Right.
close they can be to the primary structure?
Well, also,
don't know.
can I tell you,
Never
Access
mind.
from the inside.
access from the inside, this is
Denise, where did these minutes come from?
The Italians.
Oh, so
I was
that's
told
there.
I could have them. Yeah, I was told I could
So that was from
I can share
their
them.
organization.
Yeah.
We requested them,
Okay.
and I was told I could share it.
If I was gonna put a container like that on my property, I would have asked if I needed a building permit or something.
Well,
Well,
especially,
depends, is it
Well,
under
it's
200
almost like
square
a
feet?
shed, isn't it?
Yeah, is it
I
under
mean, so
200 square feet?
well, it
Yeah,
could be
but-
considered a shed.
But
And-
we
You
have,
have to have permission
But
for
the-
a shed.
If it's 200 square feet or more, you have to.
But
have a
also,
permit.
if it's particularly close to the building, it's a fire code issue, I think, if it's less than 50 feet from the main structure.
That I don't know. I do know though, permits on 200 square foot sheds.
Yeah.
yeah, the thing is, on the site plan review, I mean, we ask people to add aesthetics and stuff like that, and now this goes in site plan review and
Well, it's a little ugly,
is this
yeah.
central
Yeah.
core?
Yes.
This is central core?
It might be now.
It
It's-
probably was then too.
No.
I really didn't expect that.
I don't remember when that got changed.
It will show on this map, correct?
I haven't,
If it's
I
central
haven't
core?
learned everything
Is
I was
that a
supposed to
new
ask,
map?
apparently.
I think that one
What's
is
the
new.
date of that map?
It's 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
It came in 22. Right, good.
That's
Bird.
before. What's the name of that road? Is it
North.
Foster Street?
Foster,
North.
yeah.
North,
North and Foster.
North and Foster, yeah.
They're on
Where's
North.
North? Where's North Street? North Street, Foster Street, I don't know what. That's North Street? Okay, yeah, so no, they're in Central Core.
So that automatically triggers site plan. Adding that building,
or is it special permit?
special permit, I think.
If it's special permit, that's a
So,
biggie.
so that's what you gotta
But you
check.
should have
I
been
think
nicer
it
to
might
the
be special
neighbors.
permit that
That's,
they're
you know,
requiring.
that's the whole thing.
That's just it. If you
Remember
just
that-
I have a
do it-
question, and I've been thinking about it ever since, you guys have bring up an awful lot of stuff that I didn't expect to hear tonight. My question, I guess, sort of, so we are gonna come, at some point, you know, we wanna, obviously, we're gonna need site plan review, for a lot of things, but
Probably
the
special
driveway,
permit.
probably special
Yep.
permit of some sort, but there's, you know, we have a driveway that's annexed to theirs, or whatever, and we're hoping the outcome is that we can all use our driveway. And we're gonna wanna fix it and change it and do things and, you know, we actually are probably looking at a little bigger, wider drive, a little bit better curve to come in and out of North and stuff for vehicle, dual passage. Those are some of the things we were thinking about back in 2021. Is there, since it's going to, whatever we do is going to affect, no matter what happens, whatever we do with that property is gonna somewhat affect, well, I guess if we come to an agreement, then it would affect them, right? So if we're acknowledging their changes that need to happen and then we have changes, is there any way to conjoin what we're doing in some way, in a friendly manner to,
Only if you guys agree to it.
And imagine if you came before us as for
They-
two separate site plan reviews at the same meeting.
right,
That
because
can
they,
be
because
done.
they
Potentially-
overlap and they.
You could
affect
potentially
each
file
other.
like that.
But it has to be, each one's
In
gotta file
support of
separately.
in support of each other's
Correct.
site plan, so to speak, because
Correct.
we're
Yeah.
butters.
Yep.
And it could be that a judge will say what you have to do.
Well, yeah, right, well, we're expecting, we're hoping, I mean, there's no, you know, who knows what's gonna happen, but ultimately, prescriptive easement would be the way that we would get access. I would rather that not be the case. We have been trying for years now to say, can't we come together on something? But I'm wondering if
As
there's,
friends.
do it as friends and come here
Are
as
you in-
friends rather
Are you
than
in Land Court or are
adversaries.
you in
We are in Boston Land Court.
Boston?
And
But
to
it's
the-
gonna be on August.
It will get addressed in Boston Land Court, I'll tell you
And
that.
you
Yeah,
know-
they push you off.
Oh, they're gonna push you off, but
So it's,
usually
we're coming up to
it's
deposition
It's usually
time.
3 to 4 years in Land Court.
Well, it's already been a little while, but we are told that we should be able, because there was some preliminary thing, and then we're told that like August, potentially, there's some thing. But in between, we can do depositions from like people like the water company, like some people, you know, different people that are named,
Yeah.
noted.
I'm sorry this happened.
Me too, especially since we bought this property
I
from
did.
the town.
I
In
know,
hopes
to
of,
make it
in
look
hopes
nice.
of being, you know, in hopes of putting it on, it's been on the tax rolls for a year and three, since the minute we bought it, you know, it's been taxable, it's been a non-taxable. And that was Rick's intent, you know, with the group buying, with the, it was our first foray into the, to being landlords and such. It's not been a good one.
Yeah, if this is Central Court, this
Yeah.
is special permit, I'm
And they
almost
can't even
positive.
rent their
We'll have to
property.
look it up. No,
Can I see this?
under the old one, any use or any alteration of use in the central core needed a special permit,
Yeah.
so
Right.
I don't know if that's still the
Right.
case, because in
So all,
2018.
we've done that preliminary stuff that's allowed to do with the building, as far as asbestos stuff and that
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of thing. We've done that kind of stuff to get it ready for the next step. And we fixed the windows, which were needed reveals.
Well, they weren't good, those windows that were put in?
No, you guys bought $70,000 in windows and they weren't historically correct for the historic, whatever
Oh,
it is.
no.
You didn't know about that?
Well, no,
Yeah.
because I wrote the grant.
Luckily, we didn't have to replace everything, but we did have to change something about the reveals and stuff. We had to change. We had to send out. We said that's why the building was without windows for quite some time.
No, I didn't even
Yeah.
notice that.
Yeah,
I
Non-conform,
mean, wow,
None-
our plans had to go through Mass Historic too.
it didn't work.
non-conforming structures other than in a single or two-family dwelling, except as provided elsewhere in the bylaw, the following provisions shall apply to non-conforming structures. No, a non-conforming structure may be altered and the conforming use extended throughout the altered portion, provided that the resultant alteration shall not cause the structure to further violate dimensional regulations of the district in which it's located. No building area or floor area were already non-conforming shall be increased so as to create a greater non-conformity. A lawful non-conforming structure or portion thereof, this is the structure actually. That's not the section I was looking for. I apologize.
You read well. All right. Anyway,
So-
there's a lot of questions.
We have voted to have Ken send a letter to Mike asking him to let the Italian club know that they need to come before us for a site plan review.
Well, we've got to tell,
Maybe
either to
special
determine
permit.
if it requires a site plan review or a special permit because of the central core district it's in.
Site plan review or special permit. So they need to come before us. So can you get them on the calendar?
Oh, yeah, I mean, they're gonna have to come up with a plan, so that's probably gonna be a couple months.
It's gonna be a while.
So,
Okay, great, thank you.
Were you able to use the windows?
Yes, yes. So I'd have to ask Rick the whole thing, but we had to take out and we got back. I'm not sure if they were the same ones that were fixed or if originally I thought we had to purchase new with reveals, like the new, not the frames. The frames were going to be okay, but I got the impression we were supposed to be buying new ones. But they came back green again, so I don't know what we ended up doing. I just know they came back, and then of course we cut down that corner, which is going to be utilized for when you guys do your big thing. The corner of North and Foster, where when the road comes through, we had made that agreement originally that the town could utilize that corner, so it wasn't the way it is.
How's your roof?
It's
Brand new.
better. It's not leaking. I'm not in there with giant fans and trying to go over sidewalks and grindings to get with my car to in there so I can get water out of the building that we pay taxes on now. But it's better. Everything's better.
I've been inside the building.
Have you been in there now since it's been gutted?
No. Yes, well, it was no, the upstairs there was nothing there, but the structure and those big, huge timbers.
Yeah, the timber.
But I never saw where there was a fire.
Yeah, the root, we opened that up, and originally, I mean, that's been like that forever, and no one's fixed it, but we've decided we're gonna replace, even though it's not mandated, I guess, or whatever, we're gonna do some work up there to make sure things are right. I mean, if we're gonna build it, it's gonna be right,
But it'll
so.
be nice.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, our problem is with access right now, and obviously, in order to build proper, you need better access, so. And we really don't wanna have to do that curb cut deal, because it's just not an ideal situation, but. We'll do what we can.
Thank you.
We'll make it more valuable.
Yes.
And pay more taxes.
Eso.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good night.
Yeah.
So, we have the draft conditions.
Do we have those printed? Yes, we do.
so those draft conditions were the ones that the board contemplated at the previous meeting. File was dated 3/11.
Sandy
That
did
was
a
the-
great job.
Yeah.
You know what, though? I gave her mine, and I did not.
Here.
Oh, I got one.
So this is prior to the lawyer seeing it.
This is
Yes.
what the lawyer is seeking, yes.
So she hasn't,
It was sent this morning, but obviously there are discussions that we had. with regards to this draft, then we would send that. You know, the applicant is not here. He did state that he was not coming, but it's understood that the board can discuss.
Can I ask a
The applicant
question?
doesn't have to be here.
Right, no, you're right, exactly.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm already knee deep in. Tell me when you're ready to start
Well, we're
talking
gonna
about that.
kind of just go through it too, you know, just.
Okay.
So if you have something to say.
I just had a quick question about our rules and regulations. Coordinate this one. So in preparing these plans, the applicant shall coordinate with and work, what?
I was at the same place. I would keep going.
Okay.
Where
I was
are
on the
you?
same
I know
one.
where they are.
What page are you?
Oh, okay.
Number
Number
two,
two.
the
Okay.
last sentence.
Okay.
In preparing these plans, the applicant shall coordinate with and work with the building commissioner and the fire chief regarding fire protection and life safety matters. That's under
Building plans.
building, but would this require them to change things potentially outside the buildings as well, or is this just inside the building? I mean, I don't know, this
They
is
can't
our,
do much outside because of the historical nature.
well, no, so they have to get the water from the town to the building, so they have lines of water.
Oh, yeah, no, wait a minute. Before you go that far.
Yeah.
I think prior to issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall present final site plans.
Right,
And
exactly.
building plans.
Exactly.
Okay, the plans to the board. Okay, we know it's a set of site plans, a set of building plans. The commissioner for review for consistency with a special permit decision and all codes for life and safety codes. Correct,
Right.
no problem. In preparing these plans, the applicant shall coordinate and work with the building commissioner and fire chief regarding fire protection and life safety. That is not under our purview
Yeah. So, and
as a
also,
planning board.
I think what ended up happening was there was a reflection based on your previous 25K street.
Yes, and didn't we have specific wording? On it,
I don't know.
I thought there was specific wording on
They
25.
came back from
The attorney
the
wrote
the
it.
agreement.
Yeah,
between-
the agreement between the
Right.
town and,
But this might cover the whole ball of wax right there.
I mean, you're basically, as a planning board, the way that I read this, and maybe the way that Mike is interpreting this, is that the planning board is requiring that the building plans go through a third-party review.
but that's prior to
but the thing is that's
presentation.
not our decision to
Yeah,
do
and I
that.
don't
Yeah.
think
That's
that
the
was his
problem.
intent, because he knows that they've already been
Yeah.
working with the fire department and the building commissioner. So I guess I would say either we say it is suggested that they do, or we just
That's
eliminate
weak.
it. Or just eliminate it.
It says shall.
So maybe we should just eliminate that.
The thing is that in preparing the plans, are we talking about the ones that they present in their finality?
Yeah,
Yeah, the ones
The-
that we originally said
Right.
plans.
These plans are complete, the site plans are complete. Okay, so the site plans are part of the record.
Right.
These should not change unless there's a material alteration. This is the
Right.
record. So it's more the building plans, and we gotta be careful with the building plans, with the planning board. It's not our jurisdiction to
Yeah.
regulate the building plans.
This
well
is,
then maybe we should just eliminate that sentence.
Well, even, you go even farther, it says, at the planning.
Or leave just final site plans in there.
Why don't you let them contest it?
it's messy.
Because the last time the town contested it when we
Yeah.
did it, so the town sued us.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, let them do it again.
no.
Yeah,
Well,
not when it affects different things.
It affects certain things in our personal lives.
Well, when they get this, they're gonna question the two of you, and I would, at that point in time, make a determination on what we gotta change. Yeah, we're gonna
Well,
approve this first, am I
No,
correct?
no, still us.
Okay.
It's all us. They don't have to do
They can,
anything.
they can appeal it after it's done,
Correct.
but
So what are
They
you
can't do it.
suggesting, Mike?
The conditions are planning board's purview.
Right, I understand that, but you gave them
I'd
this
love to know
today?
what the wording is that the
No, they
attorney
don't
wrote.
have
The
it.
attorney.
The attorney
For the
to
town
review.
attorney.
Oh, okay, so this hasn't gone to them?
No,
No.
it hasn't gone to them, no.
I thought,
And we haven't approved anything.
I misunderstood.
I mean, at the beginning, we gave them, they sent something, it's not uncommon. I used to do it when I had attorneys used to do it for me. That the attorneys keep track and says, this is what we foresee as some of your
Concerns.
conditions, the type of conditions, and they sort of help you out with that. And that's not uncommon to do. But at that point, from that point forward, it is all us. We determine what is in the conditions. We can look at what they wrote, and we've changed it considerably, a lot, what they've written, to make sure it benefits the town.
Well, and we also, for example, this last sentence could be construed as meaning that
What if we take out and building plans?
there would be requirements after we approve the conditions.
This was a condition the
it's just
attorney
messy.
wrote on 25 and worded very similar.
Yeah, but you're hung up on the building.
You gotta remember, yeah, but the problem is, on 25, the fire department came back and it's worded really weird, but when the fire department sued us, is because we did not put a condition in that they had to
No,
review.
No, they wanted more.
They wanted more.
They never told us what more meant. They
Right,
didn't know what
right.
code it was.
Correct.
What line they had. They just said, well, we don't want them to do,
Yes,
the
minimum.
code.
Minimum, they didn't want them to
They
do
wanted
the
more than
minimum
code.
code. They wanted more of the code than
Right. But
was
never
needed.
told
And know
us
what,
what it
on that
was.
building, because of conditions, yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it is.
still.
But they never came back with a condition, and that's why we worded it the way we did.
Right, because
So-
we didn't know what more meant.
What did we write there?
Oh, this was the amended version.
Yeah, this should be the amended, yeah.
After the lawsuit. I can print out the original. But what I will say is that these conditions have been reviewed by town staff, and there were no further comments.
Yeah.
You mean even
That
the
doesn't
fire-
surprise me, though. Condition.
Can I ask a question about these?
Okay. You signed in,
No,
George?
I didn't see a sign-in sheet.
please?
I'm sorry.
But,
This is not what.
well, in theory, I don't know if you even can, George, because it's supposed to be closed to the board.
It is closed, it is
Unless
closed.
we
It's only the
ask.
board
Yeah, unless we ask.
for discussion.
Yeah.
The public hearing is closed.
It's not regarding that, I'm just, let's say, I went just to example what you have written down there, number 4, the sewer system and that kind of stuff. You're aware of the major break they had down there?
Yeah, we are. And,
Yeah.
Okay.
yep.
But that's two-fisted.
Two-fisted because the town is behind a big part of it.
Well,
If you talk to the town. We know the story behind it, and I think it's best let it be.
So, I guess my question on number 2, the lawyer, we should bring this or flag it to the lawyer because it,
No, she's gonna look at the whole thing.
right.
She's gonna look at the whole thing.
Okay, so we'll just pay attention to whatever she gives us as feedback on that part. Because it just seems to be contradictory.
This is the original, maybe number one addresses that.
Building plans. Shows as final site plan.
That's the one that the
Right.
planning board originally
Building commissioner.
did for the
Which
first.
is really our purview, not
Right,
this.
right,
Yep.
right,
We don't know how
exactly.
many rooms.
Who wrote that?
Well, it's just part of what the discussion is.
No, that is right here, the original condition that we did back in 25. Prior to issuance of building permit, the applicant shall present final plans and building plans, almost the same
They said
wording.
the same things.
The same wording.
So I went through.
Applicant agrees to pay reasonable costs of third-party consultants. There is some changing on here.
Who wrote these? Who drafted these?
That was, taking the 25 K Street and working from them.
It was more than one
Yeah.
person, I
Yeah.
think, I don't,
Yeah.
It was.
their
I was-
attorney
yeah.
started and Mike and then me.
Yeah, I
us.
was working with
And then-
we start with the 25 K Street, use that, and then incorporate the comments that have happened since.
And then afterwards, I just edited it for language.
Okay, all right. Okay, so because I just have questions about why certain things are in here, and I don't know, there may be an answer, I just don't know.
You were at the meeting last time, right?
Yes.
That's where we
April
went.
6th.
So some of
I
this,
actually have my copy of what Mike had given that you probably were looking at that time.
Yeah,
so some of this is from 25 Ks.
okay.
I don't understand, because you know what, there was wording that the attorney, on the amended site plan application, the attorney wrote that reflected the fire department was happy with and everything else. In this decision here, why isn't it in the decision? All it is the additional conditions. Bi-directional amplifiers, addressable
Right.
emergency voice alarms, smoke
That's what they
detectors,
wanted.
sprinklers installed throughout the areas of the building in accordance to NFPA 13.
I bet you those are probably all more than
The
code.
specific, okay,
Those are all more than
code.
basic code,
So that's why it changed.
So that's what they agreed
Yeah,
to.
that's what, yeah, okay.
okay?
Yep,
That's the more
yep,
that he wouldn't tell us.
yep,
They told the attorneys, though.
Yeah.
yeah.
Good job remembering,
Okay.
Mr. David.
Here's the more complete, this has the cover page, if that's helpful for this one.
But those are the conditions, Mike, which you just.
Well, yeah, those were the amended ones.
Right,
That
I mean, that
were
was
the result of the
That
lawsuit.
was the more.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is the original one right
Okay, so I
here.
see from 2019, 25 K Street, it's the same language, present final site plans and building plans.
Yeah.
That's why it was included.
Yeah, that's why it was.
So are we
included.
comfortable with that?
Um,
Maybe we should just let the attorney decide whether it's,
Well, apparently it went through for the 25
Yeah.
without any hiccup, so.
Well, no, it got pulled.
Yes, but I mean, that sentence.
That whole paragraph, the whole, everything got pulled.
Well, the building is still on there.
No, it's
It
not.
is. Are you sure? It's right there.
Do I have?
No, this is the one, this is the old one. This is the amended one right here. This is the, right here. Right here. This is the amended one. All that paragraph and everything got pulled from the attorney on the amendment.
Maybe, I don't know how that particular decision was written, if that was supposed to be supplementing the original decision, or if that was supposed to replace it. So I think, I don't know.
thought it
But
was-
presumably, it would supplement what your original decision was, because there's a lot more, the result of the lawsuit which created those additional conditions.
It says
that's
additional
very
conditions.
Very specific.
Yeah, additional conditions, well, so is everything else, conditions, but the problem is, does it say it anywhere on here that this is,
It's a good point, though, but I mean, it does say additional conditions.
Correct.
It doesn't say conditions.
Which
They're
my,
additional to what we had proposed.
I don't remember it being voted that way. Because then we had the findings and we had original findings. So, no, I don't think it was voted that way.
it was a pretty quick vote that second time.
Yeah, because there's the findings. And we, yeah, because we had all these other conditions, so maybe it is additional conditions. Okay, so the conditions and then these are additional conditions. So
Right.
that one was, this is applicable. Was
Right.
approved by the attorney
And that's additional.
at the time. And these are additional for the building specific, and the findings are the same. They just redid the findings again on the addition. Okay.
So we're all set.
Yeah, so know what, their wording went through the attorneys, but, God, it's a little ambiguous, but you know what?
We don't do it. We don't do the building, but I mean, somebody does, but it's just saying that they have to be what they are. And they have to be shown and agreed to.
Preparing the plans, the applicant shall coordinate with the work with the building commissioner and fire. Okay, so you know what, just, it's really not our
Get it
purview,
right.
but it's in there. So, at the planning board's request, the third-party peer consultant shall be procured to review it should be the building plans.
Well, the final site plans and building plans at the beginning of section 2.
Yeah, it says plans.
Then I wrote
The
the
plans.
plans, because that's the way all the contracts are.
Yeah. and
If you're gonna be reviewing, if you're gonna be referring to them over and over, you identify them that way
Yeah.
in the beginning.
But the third-party review, we've already done the third-party review for the site plan.
Yeah, but they're saying, I thought this meant that we might, at the
Yes.
planning board's request, a third-party review shall be procured to review the plans, meaning the final plans. Like,
There is-
maybe if
There is no more final plan. This is the final plan.
So there's no more third party?
There's no more third-party reviews for site plans.
We've already-
This plan of record, we've already done third-party review. This is of record. They can't change these.
Okay, I thought, well, okay, but you had it in there, so
Yeah, but I don't even know what I had, but I don't think it had
okay.
site plan in there. I think it just had building plans. I think it was separated out as this building plan. But that's
So-
okay.
So
The
this
review,
whole section.
You know
doesn't need
why?
anything then?
I know why you wrote that. Because you were saying that you wanted them to file final site plans if there were any changes.
correct.
Because sometimes,
But that's an amendment.
but,
They would have to file for an amendment, because it's a special permit.
okay, well then,
This whole section goes?
I would suggest keeping the building plans.
The building plans, we want the third party,
Okay.
but
I know that it's not your
it's not our
purview.
purview. I don't think we shall be procured. I don't think the word shall should be there. Because we don't have the right in our, as a planning board, to
Not do building.
do building.
okay, so
That's what I was thinking, that whole section goes.
prior to the
Because
issuance,
we're saying what happens, who pays for what, and
so what happens if the final building plans, we've always talked about final building plans, because the plans that we have are not final building plans. They are plans to show the use and intention. But they are, the building plans are this thick, with
Yeah,
every detail in the world.
yeah, but that's
So I
not,
thought you felt that you wanted those if the building commissioner,
which he does. He's gonna do a third party review. He does. He already
Oh,
told us at
okay.
the meeting he wanted third party
oh,
review.
okay, so,
So, I mean, the
Why
thing
don't we-
is,
so it's not the planning board's request then, it'd be the building commissioner's request.
right, okay.
yeah,
Review the building plans.
at the planning board's request, a third party consultant,
Or maybe just remove at the planning board's request and say a third
a
party.
third party consultant shall be procured. I think a third party consultant, if requested by the building commissioner, shall be procured to review the building plans. The applicant agrees to pay reasonable costs. Applicant shall submit the planning consultant, review
Okay.
the town, blah, blah, blah. The consultant shall review the final building plans and provide any comments within 60 days. The board shall review and discuss all comments from the consultant, any material. Why is the board
Yeah,
reviewing
how-
from the consultant for the building plans?
We'll go back to
No,
that again.
no, that should be out. Comments of the consultant, any material modification, yeah, get rid of that sentence. Any material
Wait a
modification.
minute, which sentence?
The board shall review and discuss all. See, the problem is there's a mixture between site plan and building plans here. Because the board can review if there's a need for modifications to the site plan, but that should just be an amendment. Maybe we just say that the building plan shall be reviewed in accordance to the state building code, okay, and the site plans to any modification or alteration of the site plan will require amendment filed with
It's funny.
the planning board. I mean, just break that out separately and be easy.
Have you got that, Ken?
Because if the fails to notify the applicant questions or concerns from the consultant within 60
You
days.
give the whole 60-day thing, I mean.
That
that's
60-day thing got added, I think, by
So can
them.
you say that again so that Ken
No,
can capture it?
That, the 60-day was suggested, there was less. That was Peg and I saying that it should be 60 days compared to the 30 days that they have requested.
Okay.
Mike, can you repeat what you just said so that Ken
I
can
think-
write
I
it
think
down?
it's basically, prior, let's do the, because the planning board is a site plan. Prior to issue, prior to issuance of building permit, the applicant shall present final site plans and building plans to the planning board and the building commissioner for review of consistency with a special permit decision and all applicable codes and life safety code. That's fine. In preparation of these plans, the applicant shall coordinate, okay, that's fine with the building inspector there.
Okay, and we're gonna say shall present final building plans, but not site plans.
Well, no, not yet, no.
Okay,
Uh,
you didn't wanna take that out yet.
No, I would keep that whole first paragraph in number 2, keep it intact.
Okay,
And then I would put here is that, any alteration of the approved site plan, the applicant shall file an amendment for any
okay, where is that gonna be though, Mike?
Probably right after the second paragraph. Get rid of it at the planning board's request.
Okay,
The whole thing?
Yeah, the whole, I think we gotta reword the whole thing and
Right, that's what
make
I'm
this a
thinking,
lot
have to go.
easier.
okay, we gotta do it then carefully, so
Yeah,
so we're gonna say the applicant, we're gonna start the,
well, after that, I would say, any alterations to the site plan, to the approved site plan herein referenced, okay?
Okay.
Site plans,
Approved
site plans,
site plans
herein referenced.
herein referenced.
okay,
Will require the applicant to file an amendment to the planning board prior to issuance of a building permit.
File to the planning.
That
Any
takes care of the
alterations
site
to
plan.
Approved site plans herein referenced
prior to
will require the applicant.
applying for a building permit.
Prior to, it doesn't even have to apply, prior to issuance.
Prior to issuance of a building permit.
That sort of puts Mike or Ted on notice that they can't issue a building permit until there's an amendment or alteration. is
Will require the, to apply
Yeah,
for
and an amendment
to the site plan, right?
to special permit.
Special permit.
Yeah, I wrote it down too, any alteration to the, approved site
site.
plans herein referred to will require the
Reference.
applicant to file an amendment with the planning board, or amendment to,
Special permit.
to the special
Special permit.
permit prior to issuance of a building
Building
permit.
permit. And then I would just go, all building plans to, God, it's not even our thing, I don't even, but I think we should have it in there, but I'm afraid it,
We gotta get rid of this sentence too, don't we?
yeah, we got to notify. the
which
question.
sentence
If the
now?
planning board fails to notify.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, they just gotta do an amendment, it's gonna file an amendment.
Doesn't this make us look kind of silly? I mean, if we already sent it to their lawyer, shouldn't have we?
Our lawyer.
Our
Okay,
lawyer.
all right.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like,
Their lawyer was here by remote last
Yeah.
time,
okay,
and
when you
he-
put this all
He
together.
approved all these, the wording of all
I think
this.
it doesn't hurt to put that, all building plans to, be in accordance to whatever the building code is, latest version of the, state building code.
It's gotta be, right?
It has to be anyway, but
has
I
to be,
mean,
yeah.
that's why I'm wondering, does it even have to put in here? I don't think it does. The building,
Again, it's site plans we're worried about.
yeah.
So maybe,
Well, how
we-
about the facades and stuff like that of the building?
Can't change much.
No, no.
right, those
Historical
are,
Commission's telling them
right,
what
those
they
are
can
site
do.
No,
plans.
what are, yeah, I wish they were here because I was gonna ask them what they're doing in there. They pulled.
They told us already what they were doing with the facade.
No, they're taking out, the windows are gone on 3 floors right now. And they had a lift in there and they were doing stuff all up on one whole end.
What I was thinking is they could make it look similar on the outside, but they could actually have, so that,
Oh, yeah,
that
they
they have
could.
windows so the people on the inside can see out, but
Yeah, they can.
because, I mean, who wants to have an apartment with those little
Well,
teeny weeny windows?
Well,
That's what-
actually, if you look at it, that outside is like a covering they put on, but the actual windows, they pulled some of that off the other day, and when I went by, I saw it. It's beautiful, beautiful windows underneath. So I'm wondering if that's gonna be, it's not gonna be that yellow
I hope not.
opaqueness. I think it's the beautiful windows, the size and the shape of the windows are the ones that are gonna govern it, because there's beautiful windows
Which
underneath.
was, I guess they have to do that. The
Yeah, and
historical
maybe that's
reasons.
why they were peeling it off, because it looked like they were carefully exposing the windows and everything else on one end of that building the other day.
So we all set here with 2?
Yeah, I think 2 is,
To just
Leave
replace
the
that
first
sentence.
section and we'll replace the second and third sections of
with,
that.
with the site plan stuff. The building permit is, they have to file a building permit. The building inspector has the right to hire his own third-party reviewer, and the building inspector has a right to do, make any decisions regarding the building. We don't have any decisions in regards to the building itself.
So let's go to 3 then.
I had a question on number 3. Second to last sentence. All new water lines shall be installed and inspected in accordance with the Town of Southbridge Water Department standard requirements. I don't know about what their standard requirements are, but
They're hefty.
do they require that they not just do it once, but do it in, like, at regular intervals?
They don't have to. The
They don't have
town
to.
doesn't even do their own. They can't. The inspection is, it's a brand new line. So theoretically, a brand new line put in, they have to pressure test it before they can put it online, any water lines,
And that's it.
and that's it. That's it for water lines.
Is there state oversight? Say
Nope.
there's lead in it,
That's
or,
the
Now,
town.
with
I don't
their-
know.
No,
Like,
no,
I don't know
'cause
what could happen.
The town has it, it has to be copper, has to be this, there won't be
The
anything.
new building, the building code takes care of that.
That, but also the town of Southbridge Water Department regulations for what's required for sewer and water it's all covered in there.
Okay, I haven't
It's like a
seen it.
subdivision, you can't put in, you gotta use ductile iron, you can't use plastic water line.
Okay, so it would be whatever the regulations are for a subdivision.
It's for the town, and in the town.
the town.
The water department has a water standards and sewer standards.
And that's being applied to this property.
Yep.
Interesting.
It's applied to any commercial property, it has to go by the water. That's like they have a curb cut standard too, that you have to have a curb cut.
4?
Okay.
4 was very apropos.
Yeah, 4, again, my question,
It may not exist anymore.
are they gonna be inspected in future? Are they only inspected once at the beginning
They
and
only
then?
have to be inspected now before they go forward. There's no
repetition.
No repetition. The town doesn't,
So how does one discover that there's millions of gallons of sewage being leaked into the Quinnebog when that happens? Is that under Concom's jurisdiction, or do they have to have dye tests every so often to make sure that there's no
No.
leakage?
nope.
Certainly, if that was reported, the Conservation Commission would be the first ones.
Yeah, they would.
That
So the
would be
funny thing is,
notified.
the funny thing it was reported to DEP the very same day, the day after we saw them on Thursday. It was reported to the DEP, and Concom didn't hear about it until this evening.
Well,
Well,
I didn't
you gotta
even hear
you gotta
about it.
remember
I don't even know what you're talking
that
about.
condition They had a blowout underneath the river the morning after our last meeting. And sewage was
Do you wanna
blowing.
see the video?
No.
I went.
But sewage was blowing out. But the thing is you look at a lot of it is because the town sewer line backed up and pressurized a system that should not have, these pipes weren't made for that type of pressure. So it blew out, the town caused the problem in their sewer lines.
Well, we'll let them sort that out, but
I agree.
my point is, again, when a sewage line is going through a wetland, shouldn't it have to be and hold on, just don't, hold
Yep.
on. Shouldn't it have to be inspected at some interval, if not under planning board jurisdiction, under Concom jurisdiction? It doesn't make sense that a sewage pipe,
Well, that could be a Concom order of conditions. They haven't applied to Concom yet.
No, they haven't.
are you gonna, do
You might
you,
not go there.
No, they haven't.
They have to go there
Well,
because,
no, they're gonna go
They have to,
to
but they
Millennium.
haven't yet.
yeah, they might not go through that pipe. They might now tie into Millennium and then
And
be
what if they
municipal.
already do that? You know, our conditions would be like, oh, well, we've already made the pipe.
You still demand that they do it.
well, and again, is there a map of the sewage system? I mean, is that,
We asked,
is
They're
that
gonna
the,
supply it.
we asked for that,
okay, is, again,
because
Because
they
they-
didn't have one.
again, the sewage from the hotel can't, I mean, that pipe, it's a circuit. So the sewage from the hotel crosses the river at one point and then again
Oh.
at the place where it blew
I
out.
don't think the sewage from the hotel goes across the river.
Does it not?
No, it goes right out onto Mechanic Street from the hotel.
Do we know that? Do we have a map confirming that? I mean, these are assumptions.
I could tell you that there's no pump station on the hotel, so there's no way.
But again, these are assumptions. We don't know because we haven't seen a map, so we can't confirm or deny.
But I can tell you, there's no pump station at
The
the
town-
hotel.
But we do have, once it leaves their property on our town GIS.
We have our town stuff.
We do have the lines there.
But they agreed to
That's in
supply the,
Virginia.
the
But they did
maps.
say that within their, and it might even be in here further on, but they did agree, they did offer actually, because I thought it was you who said, we don't have them. I said, well, we'll supply you. I remember that.
Yeah, it's in here.
Supply you what?
With maps
mapping.
of their underground utilities.
And is that,
A plan of existing water line locations within the property shall be supplied to the Southbridge Water Department, right here, number 3.
And I
we
think
probably
we did the
should-
same on the sewer.
And,
I'm
no,
pretty sure.
I don't think we do. We should add that sentence to number 4.
that we need the map?
An underground, yep.
Yeah. So,
So yeah, let's add that last sentence from number 3,
Plan of existing
yeah.
yeah,
water
Just put sewer
line,
line.
And put
Just change it sewer.
water
yeah.
and sewer lines.
So, in the way that this is written, it says any new sewer lines proposed shall be designed in accordance with the town of Southbridge Sewer Department and
Should it go
standard
with
requirements.
Department?
Oh, no, it's not that
Water
one, and
sewer
certified compliant. Yeah. The existing sewer lines, 40 and 50 Optical Drive,
Existing water and sewer locations in the property shall be supplied with
Yeah.
water and sewer departments.
Yeah, that way they know where, if they're close to each other and everything else, at least they all know where it is. It's gonna be on one plan anyway.
so on number 4,
So we changed that 2 places there and 3.
To the water and sewer departments,
Oh,
So
on both.
Oh,
Plan of
right.
existing water and sewer lines.
That way there, they both have it, so if the sewer department, they can know there, if there's a line, oh, hey, wait a minute, there's a water line 2-3 feet away.
Right.
They'll know that there's a water line in the vicinity of their sewer line.
that's smart.
so, can you repeat that one more time, Dave?
All right, so the last sentence in number 3, it says a plan of existing water and sewer line locations
No.
within the property.
No, that one's water and 4 is sewer, so just submit them to the water and sewer departments on both of them.
Oh.
Keep-
Right.
So,
So water and
need
sewer.
water
so
up
an
there.
additional sentence in number 4 that says sewer lines, but it is to the Southbridge Water and
Water
Sewer
and sewer
Department.
department.
Both of them.
Yep.
Both of them in both cases.
Yeah.
So on number 4, it's talking about 40 and 50 optical dive, public sewer lines located in the public way shall be video inspected with the town sewer department personnel present to ensure the integrity of existing underground lines. I wanted to add there, and certified compliant. Because it says that the personnel needs to be present.
You can't.
Yeah,
You
there's
can't.
no-
The town can't certify. They can inspect it, but they can't certify it.
So if the town can't certify it, what if they go in and they find a problem, then what?
They're gonna town's
It's gotta be corrected.
gotta be corrected.
Can we add that in here somehow? Because that's not,
So you're gonna say the town's gonna say it's okay to have a leaking sewer line?
well, that's my point.
Well,
That-
why would they even say that?
No, you don't understand what I'm saying. Okay. So what I'm saying is, right here, it's just talking about having somebody present.
Maybe on both of them, any deficiencies found shall be
Made
Address.
compliant according to,
shall be made
Well, it says,
Integrity.
integrity.
yeah,
I mean, what more, I mean,
well, I mean, again, what does that mean? I mean, is there a legal definition of integrity? I mean, what I want to see is that they are code compliant.
Well,
When they're
it says that the integrity existing underground.
then we could change that, Pamela. We
How-
could say to ensure that the existing underground lines are code compliant.
There.
Does that cover the problem? I mean, does that make sure that they
No,
are code
because-
compliant?
Because it doesn't. Because if they have a sewer line that was old clay sewer lines, that's not code compliant right now. But guess
Right.
what? They're not. They're not forced to fix it
How?
because they don't. It's pre-existing. It's in the ground.
Well, and if they, so you're
unless
saying,
they're leaking.
if they test
But if
them
they're
and
testing
they,
fine,
Well, that's my question. So if they're tested and they're testing fine, does that mean that they're code compliant?
well,
Yes.
why wouldn't they be?
yes.
If
I don't know. I thought he
No,
just said that there was a discrepancy.
No, just, he's saying if there's pipes that are in there that are pre-existing to the current code.
Current code.
Right.
Well, you're not gonna dig up all the lines to figure out, is that clay, or is that copper, or is that lead? In other words, if it's working, you're gonna say, well, I don't
And it's
believe it,
pressure
I don't believe it's working.
So what is the verbiage that one uses to say when something is pre-existing?
Well, we'll just use that word. We'll use that word.
Everything's pre-existing on there. This whole thing is pre-existing because then we write any new shall be inspected. Any new sewer lines proposed shall be designed in accordance with the town sewer department standards and requirements. So you are implying the existing lines shall be video inspected for their to ensure their integrity of the existing underground lines. So
Does integrity cover it though? I guess that's I feel
Well,
like
yeah, because
I
the
feel like our
integrity-
flank is exposed with that word.
no,
well,
it's
I
not.
think,
The
you know what
integrity,
though?
I mean,
I think that's the way things are. We can't ask them to dig up their existing lines if they're working and make them all in place.
I'm not asking for that. I guess what I'm saying is if they're working. So it's the
Integrity.
are they working?
Okay.
Is
Actually-
it do they have integrity? I don't know.
I want to add something because know
I
what, this
see.
might solve it. It should be located in a public way shall
Well,
be.
I just wanted to ask if the Conservation Commission can be added to that list of people who are notified of the map of the sewer lines.
No, but we'll give you it.
Okay.
Can we give them a
Share.
copy?
Yeah, because I just wanted the Conservation Commission to be included so that,
The thing
you
is,
know, because the town manager bypassed us the last time, so I want that verbiage to be there.
sewer lines located in a public way shall be video inspected, but actually it should be pressure tested and video
Thank you.
inspected.
There
They
you
should
go.
be pressure tested because know what? New subdivisions, you have to pressure test your sewer lines
Okay.
Thank you,
to make
Mike.
sure there's no inflow or
But then the
outflow.
question still is integrity.
Okay.
Does that, in your engineering mind,
Yeah.
does that adequately, because Pamela needs to be assured
Integrity
that
of the existing, because integrity, yeah, it to ensure the integrity. So if they fail, they don't have the integrity, so they're gonna have to fix it.
I guess for me,
I like.
my concern is that they would say, well, define integrity. You know, and
Well, can I add just for a minute? I think I see where you're trying to go, and it's almost like trying to reverse engineer it a little bit. So I think you want to look for, if there's a problem with the line, they can't just throw up their hands later and say, we don't have to fix it or we don't have to do anything. I think if you leave in the language that they are required to abide by whatever it is, the town has the standards that they have to have in these pipes. And if they do not meet that standard, the town has a right to do whatever is under the water laws, like to bring enforcement, or just the language of saying that that they have to comply with the town water bylaws and rules. If they don't, we automatically have a pathway to argue that they're not abiding by
Right, that's the
the rule.
standard requirement.
So I understand what you're trying to do, Pam, as far as you want to make sure that we can enforce that they're following the code, or they're following the right things, and that they're fixing everything they should according to what the law is. I don't think we need to go as far as to state anything beyond that they just need to comply, that the inspection happens, it needs to meet the standards that designated by the water department, because we know if it doesn't, we have a right, because of that language right there, to come back and do whatever our rights give us, whether that's pulling occupancy, fines, whatever the enforcement is. It's my only thought.
So,
that way
actually-
you don't get into, because you're right,
It
what
says
is
standard
integrity?
requirements.
What is up to code?
That's any new.
I think it gets muddy, and we don't need to. We need to just, we just say that they need to have it scoped, and the video is fine, and water department has to sign off that it's meets their standards, whatever it is.
In the sewer department, it says you can do ensure the integrity of the existing underground lines, comma,
Yep.
any deficiencies encountered shall comply with town of Southbridge sewer regulations.
That would make me
Right,
feel
and-
better.
Right.
Thank
And
you.
if they don't, then, yeah, and I see where you're trying to go. I think it's just, we don't need the extra language actually to get to the result you want.
Yeah, thank you, Corey. I appreciate that.
It's great having somebody
It's
that's
my contribution, thanks guys.
familiar, and then we have an
That was good,
engineer.
Corey.
Yeah.
I agree.
Thank you, Corey. Any deficiencies shall be repaired, or?
Shall comply with town of Southbridge
Well,
sewer.
deficiencies can't comply. Shall
Shall be brought into
be-
compliance
Yes,
Okay.
there you go.
That's
There you go.
good.
Okay.
with the town of South.
Ken, did you get video inspected and pressure tested?
Yep.
Okay, good. That was a good point.
Number 5, I don't think there's any changes. That's pretty straightforward.
What level would they pressure test it at, the maximum capacity? that
Whatever
they're
the-
going through, whatever-
It's only, all it is pressure. You have to have something like 90 PSI of pressure has to hold over a period of so many minutes. The town has a whole standard on that. It's like a new subdivision, new lines. You put a pressure on it, you put a valve on it, they press it up and you sit there for 2 hours and hope that needle don't drop. Believe me, because then it's a bear to find where the leak is. Because you can't pressure test like a water line, just so you know, you can't pressure test it before it's backfilled.
Right.
Because otherwise the pressure in the line, your lines, plus your lines, you gotta put the water in it and then pressure it. It'll move the pipes all over the place, then it's,
Yeah,
so that's part of the catch-22 on that.
no doubt.
Um,
On to 5?
Thanks for all your work on this.
Cheers.
Hi, Corey.
Are we on 5 or are we on 6?
Five, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't see anything in 5.
I don't know what existing drainage pipes, what is that referring to, like
It's like
downspouts?
it's like if they have a catch basin with a culvert that's already there in place, it's gonna be inspected. Any catch basins, any pipes underground.
Okay,
You know what?
Got
It
it.
puts it right on their engineer as a certification, so.
okay, okay.
6, the pre-construction was good. Actually, you know what? That's one where you could put the Conservation Commission in.
Yeah,
Because it's all within 200 feet of the riverfront.
Yep.
So let the conservation, someone from the Conservation Commission be present
Or.
for the pre-construction
I
meeting.
mean, the thing is, you can do similar.
Or the
because
agent.
town planner is
Yeah.
the agent.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or
that's right.
Or the Conservation Commission's
agent,
designee.
yeah, designated agent. That's what I would put. Right there, because now that whole site is within the 200-foot riverfront anyway, so it's all under jurisdiction. Every bit of work they're doing down there is under jurisdiction of the They still gotta get through conservation on a lot of this.
Yeah.
With the,
Now, 7, 8, 9, and 10, I think should be put at the end. Because those are addressing things after the building is in use.
That's true.
yeah,
It's fine with me.
yeah.
Do we want to put anything specific in terms of landscaping about using indigenous plantings, and would Concom be the ones?
They submitted us landscape plan with all the plantings and
Okay.
everything.
You know, everything's already,
All right, so it is like articulated and,
Yeah.
okay, right. I don't remember that part, it's also muddy. Okay,
Yeah, there's a landscape plan.
There's they actually
Yeah.
did a nice landscape plan.
Yeah. I
And
was-
color and all that.
Yeah, that's the thing, I mean,
Yeah, right here, all this is new landscape, all this, trees.
And the decision will reflect the sheet number and the most revised version,
Yeah,
so.
just a quick question, was there anything in here about lighting? Because they're on the water, and much like, there was another property we addressed over down towards Big Y, and we asked them to make sure their lighting was facing away from the river.
it's all night compliant, night compliant.
I think Mike brought that up
No.
during the public
It was
hearing.
brought up, and I thought they should have the lighting here.
They have a lighting page.
It was one of the, it was the lab that went in over by.
Oh, yeah.
And we
Which
asked-
hasn't happened, yeah.
Right, we asked them to turn their lighting away from the river.
well, that's science.
Yeah, see, they had a lighting plan. They did, this is a photometrics plan.
God, I never saw that.
This is all part of the set. See, it says your foot candles, so they're at zeros all the way around along the whole river.
That'll be pretty.
Of their foot candles, but you see along the building, they have up in the parking lot here, 1.5, 2.5. See the lights here? There's a light here, light here, light here. That, you can see it's underneath 3, very, very low lighting.
Okay.
And the poles are, see luminaire location summary, this sheet. Aerial light pole.
Like your good eyes, and you need to
Reminds
magnify
me
that.
of
Yeah, really.
There's,
thank you.
there's another detail
It's
here too,
very
I
hard
saw
to read, even with
at one
glasses,
point.
because it's so small, and it's. Daughter
Oh,
of our sisters.
luminance.
Daughter of
Yeah, their
sisters.
maximum
It's-
luminance is only 12.2 right at the light. That's a low luminance on the light. 16 foot tall along the parking lot is the lighting, which usually they're 20, 24. So they're keeping them low
Good.
and night sky compliant. And there's a note in here that they meet night sky, dark sky compliance.
Good,
So I think,
Okay.
I remember asking that at
Thank you.
the original meeting.
thank you.
I remember that you did. In fact,
Yep.
I don't have a
too.
very good memory, but I do remember that.
I was thinking about the fishies.
All right,
Okay,
10.
10,
we're gonna move that one to the end too.
Yeah,
Is it
Okay.
10 goes to the end?
7 to 10.
7 to
Okay.
10. Include that.
The pedestrian bridges, are they included in here? I think.
Yeah.
Where are they?
it's coming, well, we'll.
Okay,
we'll
they're
get there.
separate from
Well,
11.
the thing is, there's only a pedestrian bridge that one pedestrian bridge.
One pedestrian.
Across
Over
the
there.
Right,
Yeah, it's here.
The rest
Okay.
of the.
These here, these 3 are the main access bridges.
Yeah.
For the 3 main access bridges, which is
yeah.
good.
Excellent. Very happy to see that there.
Routine inspections, 2 to 5 years.
Wait a minute, hold on. Building permit, absent, Bridget. That second part of 11 on the next page, should deficiencies be found, the applicant must immediately submit an action plan to address any deficiencies to pedestrian. Listen to the analysis report. Building permits shall not be issued until the deficiencies are corrected. Okay.
Yeah.
Routine inspection in 2 to 5
I was
years.
really
Excellent.
surprised that they sort of went along with that one, but that's,
Good. What are they being judged on in terms of the bridge? What standards? Do we articulate that?
Well, we're
Presence
saying-
of a
Just that they can hold our
it
biggest
should be
trucks.
structural, should be structural.
structural bridge engineer. So according to what codes? Like Mass Dot codes? Who makes bridge
They're
codes?
actually, I happen to know that question because my daughter is a structural engineer, and it's actually a worldwide code, but the United States
Yeah.
has a structural code that includes earthquakes and everything, and the whole country has to follow it.
Yeah, if a structural engineer, they have to go by one set of codes. It's,
Okay,
there's
okay.
there's no ifs, ands, or buts.
It doesn't differentiate.
And the
That's-
inspector has to be, they have to be licensed.
Yes.
Yeah, I only asked because could they say, well, it's a different standard on a private parcel.
No. No.
It's the same.
Okay.
It's
Like
like, it's
now-
like structural review on a town property of building versus a private property building. It's still the same structural certification. The same beam has got to be certified in the exact same way on no matter where it is.
And don't we now have to include earthquake changes?
Oh yeah, there's
And
an
you know, the
earthquake
thing of
code.
it is, that's what's adding to the cost of building a new
Buildings.
house.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It is
Huh.
interesting.
Well, because it's coming. We're
The
due.
earthquakes,
We're due.
hopefully not as big as the volcano that might
Oh my
erupt in
gosh.
Yellowstone.
Wow.
Or
The one up in Iceland.
Yeah.
the one in Iceland is still causing problems, but there's also a cliff on the eastern edge of Africa that is splitting off. It's just this giant
Yeah, I saw
calving.
Section?
And when it does, we're gonna be
Tsunami?
hit from, like, if you are less than 50 miles from the coast, the Atlantic coast, you're gonna be in trouble. And it's a question of when, not if.
Good times.
So we'll have to invite all our friends because
Don't-
we're 50 feet,
Yes. 50 miles, yeah.
50 miles. I mean, I have seen documentation about that, but have you, Arno, also?
I have.
It's scary, isn't
It
it?
is.
Just hope it never happens in our
Doesn't make
lifetime.
the seawall look too good, does it?
I mean, well, we're doing business.
I would like to change 13.
Two.
The applicant shall hire a structural dam engineer instead of appropriate engineer. That will make sure that, because we're more concerned on structural dam,
I have
and it'll address all that.
Yeah, I have input on this one, actually. There is where did I put it? It's on our town meeting notes. There is currently the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers are in the final phases of an operating and maintaining a levee. They're a couple months out from certifying this code compliance. So I've been speaking with FEMA and the Army Corps, and levee compliance is 44 CFR 65.10. And then they, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, operating and maintaining a levee, and then managing levee emergencies. They're two different books of code that the U.S. Army Corps is currently creating, and they're in the final stages of certifying.
I think we should just put that they shall be in operation of maintenance manual for levies. per the latest,
Yeah, we have to point to the
Latest codes.
department. Latest,
CFR, that one?
it could be that one, that's a state.
yeah. See, the
Code.
thing is, I think we should, the latest state and federal, because Corps of Engineers federal,
Yeah.
Yes.
CFR state,
Yeah.
so the latest state and federal, code regulations,
Yeah,
code regulations.
code regulations, yep.
That might be the best way in that, and that covers us there.
So where should that go? Shall
After
hire a structural
property.
van engineer to update the.
Yes, I would say
manual,
after property.
Stating what, Mike?
So I think it's the applicant shall hire a structural dam engineer to update the operations and maintenance manual for the levies on the property per the latest state and federal code regulations.
Correct.
Right.
Thank you. Someday that levy is going to save lives.
You mean if the dam,
Yeah, or if we get over 8 inches of rain. I mean, the last time we had over 8 inches of rain, that levee broke. And it only inflicted damage towards the hotel, but if there are other
Well,
complications.
the reason that levee broke, and the thing is this is where Conservation Commission could be doing a lot of good. They've got to get down at the end of Katy Brook, and they've got to dredge that sandbar
yes,
that's coming out of Katy Brook, because what's happening, it's pushing all the water directly
Into
into
the-
that levee.
Yeah.
And that's what's eroding in the heavy water. That's what eroded it back in that October rainstorm.
Yeah.
The water flowing down Katy Brook. Don't forget, the water coming down Katy Brook was probably 10 foot higher than it is today.
and you
coming out
can
of that
tell,
brook.
because at Charlton Street, you can see how high that wall is.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes
It
there's
went over the
barely a
bridge.
stream
It went over
there,
the bridge on Charlton Street.
and
that
it actually
October.
carried buildings along with it.
Yeah.
Wow.
There are
That was a
pictures.
55 flood. I got pictures of that. But the October flood about 10 years, 15 years ago, whatever it was, that last one we had,
Yeah,
water was about 2 inches was flowing over Charlton Street Bridge.
wow.
So that's how much water. And look where it is today. It's 10 feet down.
And that was 8 inches of rain. And
That-
it's entirely possible that we can get that much again.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the other thing that happened then, when you weren't around, the firemen at 2 o'clock in the morning were going to all the houses at South Village
Yeah,
and waking people up
and evacuating.
and evacuating them. And those people complained.
Yeah,
Well,
But they-
okay,
but
so
They waded into waist-deep water.
13, 14,
wow.
pedestrian, okay, that's what we talked about.
Shall be
Yeah.
improved to meet applicable building and safety codes and shall be open and available to residents of all buildings located on the applicant's site. This ensures the pedestrian access to the applicant's property on both sides of the Quinnebog River. Okay.
Oh, look it, we had the dams on the site shall be regularly inspected and maintained in accordance with the Commonwealth.
Dam-
That's,
Yeah,
here's the dam safety regulations.
that's different than levy. It's two
Yeah,
different
okay.
things.
Well, then should we take the structural dam engineer out for the levy? Well, a levy is a dam.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wouldn't,
Levy and dams are the same, they're under the same jurisdiction.
Oh, are they?
No, they're not. The dam safety office in Massachusetts is one, and they don't, and they have, they
They don't
do.
look at levies?
No, they went down to that levee and they determined it wasn't a dike. If it had been a dike, then they would have had jurisdiction over it, but they don't. So it's a levee, so they don't have jurisdiction
Oh,
So
over
who
it.
does have
Heights
jurisdiction?
and levies.
Dam safety.
This
Mass
new-
dam.
This new USCAE levee thing, that's why they're creating it, because there are
Okay.
things outside of
I
a
would
dike.
take out then dams up on 18, where I put structural dam engineer, I would just put structural engineer.
Okay, so.
I don't know what to call them. I
Hire a
don't,
structural engineer.
That's a structural engineer.
yeah.
I mean, could be civil, structural. I mean,
16's right.
You know what? You might, it could be anything. It could, a structural, a civil, a hydraulic engineer.
Well, that's why I guess
Could
we
be- you
put
know what?
appropriate.
Maybe appropriate. You were right.
Maybe
Sandy, when you
appropriate
did
was
that.
the right word.
Yeah, when you
Because
When
know
you-
what, now it's appropriate engineering, because it could be a hydrology, it could be a hydraulic engineer.
So back to appropriate?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay, but you know, when you do sit for the structural exam,
Oh,
you
you have to
are
know all this,
testing for
all that.
civil and building.
Everything.
It's
Yep.
kind of a,
Same with civil, you're tested for structural and all that too.
17
maybe it's the same one.
Yeah,
is all right.
It's the same exam, I'll bet.
16, federal and state local, but yeah, and then,
Our improvements.
yeah.
No turn on red, signage on all
I almost
approaches.
turn on red.
I saw people turning right into the Lensdale gate coming from Big Y.
Oh, yeah, they do it.
They do all the time.
They turn left.
That
turn right.
island will eventually
It'll
take
fix
care of
that.
that.
Yep.
Increase yellow. Is there anything here about, and when they do the traffic monitoring study, that they have to liaise with the traffic commission on that?
Probably not.
Because, I mean, that's not really, they're the ones who should be receiving it on the town's behalf, no?
No, they
Who?
don't even know what they're looking at.
Traffic commission doesn't understand traffic studies?
Nope,
I don't understand how that's possible.
it's gotta be the DPW director.
DPW director? Is
Wow.
that written in here?
Yeah, I thought it was here.
And isn't the DPW director part of that commission?
He is.
Okay, so, yeah.
I don't see it in here.
I thought there was something in there.
Conduct a traffic monitoring study. Traffic volumes, improvements, remove crashes. It says nothing about who to report that to, so it has to go to the DPW director. And then he has to make, I mean, what is his action if it's insufficient?
He'll have to make that determination, that's his job.
But we don't
We
have-
can't tell him what to do.
But we don't have him listed anywhere, that's the
No,
problem.
I think we should list him there then.
So the DPW director has to be listed as receiving this traffic monitoring study. Conduct a traffic monitoring study following 90% occupancy of the project for 1 year to be delivered to the
Submitted, submitted.
to be submitted to the DPW director. Submitted for review. For
Why don't we just do it, put,
review.
change D to E and you put A, B, C. D. I would put D and just put that as a separate item, all items or something. Because you want
Oh, I see.
items A, 18A through 18C, reviews shall be submitted to the DPW
Yes,
director or something like that, and just make it clean.
yes, I agree.
So
Everything
A
should
through
be,
C,
A
okay.
through C. Oh, well, and D. Well, maybe do it right at the end.
yeah, at the end.
Oh,
A through D. Any reports,
So
any
an E?
report, maybe do an E, and just do any reports associated with 18A through 18D above shall be submitted to,
that'll be a new number.
yeah, a new number.
Yeah, because we're moving the 7 through 10 to the end.
Oh, that's right, it'll be a new number, yeah.
So you can make it an E.
Yeah, just make it an E,
So any,
because it's under traffic.
right.
So do that under E, A, B, C, D, E, and then do
Any
the
reports?
reports to DPW.
Any report shall be submitted to
Yeah.
the department.
For their review.
Yeah,
Because he may say, there's a problem here and it needs to be changed.
there was something here.
I wonder if that's gonna affect B2, last sentence.
Yes,
B, the last sentence?
B2, the
Yeah.
last sentence.
Okay.
so that the town can consider implementing them if it deems advisable at the applicant's expense.
That's the kicker, those 4 little words.
At the applicant's expense.
And it's only on B2, why not the rest of the conditions?
because they're
Because
really
they're
not.
looking at crashes at that intersection.
Yeah, the other conditions are,
Nothing.
they're not gonna affect.
Why is it a problem that it says at the applicant's expense?
Because the applicant balked at that open mandate of it.
Oh,
A review of
At the
crashes at the
meeting.
intersection to determine if there have been any changes to pre-development crash patterns. A list of recommendations should be provided to the board. By who?
The reviewer.
Traffic reviewer.
The traffic reviewer. Okay, so we're gonna add that when it's 90%. Okay, so that the town can consider implementing them if it deems. Well, I'm sorry, like, you know, you're adding to the volume of the traffic.
Well, the
If it's a
thing, well, no,
problem-
see, the problem is, and I wouldn't, if I was the applicant, I wouldn't accept it,
Yeah.
because you might have, a new business, down the road, move in, and then that caused the traffic, not me.
Mm-hmm.
And because, like the Center of Hope is leaving the building, who's gonna move into the old, road of furniture? They're going up on West Street.
and we've already approved a project there, but did
Right.
we approve for something like that's supposed to be housing?
That's fair.
That's supposed to be housing,
Well, but there's a.
Do they need to amend their
It's in-
special?
yeah.
I don't believe so, because I think if you looked at it, it said housing and
Oh, well,
something
okay, good,
else.
good.
But what's moving into Roder's Furniture, it's a real large building right down the road,
correct.
who's
What-
moving in?
Who is?
Well,
But
They said somebody was.
Somebody bought the building, and so they're moving
here's the
out.
thing. I think you're right, Mike. Honestly, if DPW or Traffic Commission had a problem and was really concerned about this, they should have come to the meeting and said something. I mean, so I totally see your point, and I agree that that's a problem at the applicant's expense.
But then again,
Yeah.
from the applicant's point, I mean, from the town's point of view, if they're causing a whole bunch of traffic and there's been some accidents there, and you say, we should put a light up
Yes.
there,
Well,
who foots the bill? The town? Because
Well, yeah.
of them putting all the traffic into the intersection?
Well, they did a traffic study, and it was delivered to the DPW director and the Traffic Commission. And if they wanted to give input, they should have showed up and given input, because they had it in their hands.
the other thing too is, I mean,
If they wanted to contest what was written up in the applicant's traffic report, they should have showed up.
I can tell you right now, it's not gonna be an issue. It's really not.
I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna,
What's gonna be an issue is the Amazon building on Route 20.
Yeah, exactly, that could create more.
167,
That could create more traffic
what do
cutting
you
through
call
Webster
those
and
trucks?
there, so why
Yeah.
would they have to pay for the?
They've got 167 of them.
I don't disagree,
Yeah,
but the point is,
we were talking,
Not a
we said,
turning.
put
I
that
agree,
back on.
we decided, but then I've been thinking about it.
I'm back and forth on this one.
Yeah, what was the original wording on that?
What would our planner say?
You mean on what, I did save that, if you want to
Yeah,
look
we
at
had an original we had, before the applicant's expense. At the applicant's expense.
Let me see if you.
What would Mr. Comia say in this situation? But it's true, if some other business is
Yeah.
causing more traffic there,
yeah,
and it adds to what this is,
yeah.
then who's
The
to blame?
town could, how it was, is the town could consider implementing on its own if it deems advisable.
So how come it was changed?
Dave and I changed it to throw it
Well,
to the applicant because it said, okay,
Rich
but
said
then,
that it shouldn't be on the town if all that traffic is coming from the
From there.
development.
Okay,
Well,
However, if something else is
There.
causing a lot of traffic,
then they get to,
well, no, just do this. Put one extra word in there. It says if determination is made that the traffic is,
A result of the development.
a result of the development somehow like that, and the applicant shall be on the hook for it, whatever
Yeah.
it is.
If it's determined
Again-
that the increased traffic flow is coming from the development, the necessary changes,
If deemed advisable, and that's what I do. If it is determined that the
well, that's what the
Rec-
idea
that
is.
if it's determined that the recommendations are caused by this, traffic from this development.
Well, it says any
Project?
changes,
Instead of development.
you know?
Any changes to pre-development, but it doesn't say
No.
where they come from.
Well, yeah, well.
Because it
It's
could be
quite-
the Amazon down the road that's causing the traffic
Isn't that why the
concerns.
study needs to be done? Because this is gonna be a study when there's 90% occupancy.
But this is gonna be a yes, this is going to be a study.
Yeah.
So we'll do a
of
new.
this project.
Right, conduct a traffic monitoring study following 90% occupancy. So what, I assume a traffic
It says
monitoring
on the
study can
project,
determine
so-
whether or not it's
Yes.
as a result of the development
Correct.
or otherwise.
Yeah, you're right, It can.
So because the traffic monitoring study at 90% occupancy will be able to determine whether or not that traffic is a result of the development or something else, then we can determine whether or not the applicant is liable for the expenses.
Should we put somewhere along the line that it'd be up to the planning board to determine that?
Is that our purview?
It is, traffic safety is our purview. You
I'm
could,
just-
you could put that,
I mean, I don't wanna kick the
know what,
can
the
down the road.
town
but
can
I
consider
mean,
implemented them.
I'd rather get another overview of it at the time.
It's wise to wait and see how it
A list of
develops.
Needs to be
recommendations,
never
if
happened.
any, shall be
Yeah.
provided to
But
the
it
board.
could.
Sometimes
To the
you
board.
can't see
It
into the
says,
future.
a list of recommendations, if any, shall be provided to the board, so that the town consider implementing them if it deems advisable. That's what, maybe just leave it. So now it's to the
Yeah.
board, now we consider, now we have the right to go to them and say,
This is your problem.
we're bringing them back and say, you
Right.
guys got a
We're not
problem.
saying that the town's on the hook, we're not saying they are,
Yeah.
we're just saying,
You're right, now we
If
can
there's a problem, we
say,
gotta look into it.
it's coming to the
and-
board, and now we bring them back to the board, you guys got a problem here, you gotta address it.
everybody, Corey, do you get that one?
So which one?
The town can consider implementing them if it deems advisable. So basically, it says just before that any changes to the pre-development crash patterns, a list of recommendations, if any, shall be provided to the board. So they're gonna have to come to recommendations to the board, and then basically, we're gonna be able to tell them if it's advisable or not.
Let's get the town off it. Let's
Correct.
say, so that the board can consider.
That the board can, yep,
Get the town out of there.
yep,
Put
Since
us
we
in
do
the-
have-
Put us in the spot.
yep, I agree.
So it doesn't look like it's the town's nickel, but it's the board.
So the board can consider not implementing them. Oh, well, we can consider implementing them. Deems advisable, that's not,
We
so
could
the board
say
so the board can consider,
whether they should be implemented.
Consider the results.
consider,
can
so the
consider
board,
results
so the
or
board
something
can
like that.
consider the
Results.
Responsibility.
responsibility.
Right.
Just or, oh,
Not even go that way. Let's
No.
just say so to consider.
consider the results.
The results.
Consider the results, yeah,
Okay.
and then we can go there and do that.
A list of recommendations, if any, shall be provided to the
So
board.
we're taking out at the applicant's expense?
Yes.
Yes,
And we're taking out the town's expense.
town's expense too, so.
They'll have to fight it out.
No,
So I hope everybody's got a lot of money on the board.
No.
Arno, keep working.
Say no more, I'm on it. After this meeting.
A list of recommendations, if any, shall be provided to the board so that the board can consider
The results of the
Or-
study?
the results of the study.
Or the merits.
Not the merits.
Okay.
so the board can consider
Consider the
the
results.
remedy?
No, the
Nope.
results.
The results,
The
period.
results of the study.
And recommendations?
The results and recommendations of the study.
They're the same, aren't they? Results and recommendations? No.
No.
Results of the study, recommendation, yeah.
Right.
Results and recommendations of the study, yep.
Would,
I agree.
would the study have recommendations?
Yeah,
Yeah, they all do.
yep, they all do.
It was.
Yep.
I have something when we're done with that.
Of the results and recommendations of the study?
Yep.
Oops.
That makes me feel a lot better that I took that last sentence off and took the town at the same time.
Yeah,
Not a bad shot. Like I say, keep working.
you did good. That's why we do this together.
What was that? Hmm.
So I was.
That was a degree.
I want a definition of a hmm.
Corey, is the dog asleep now?
Yeah, he is.
Good.
All right, so that's it?
I have something,
That's it?
if I may.
Oh, no, I wanted to add one too.
Yeah, that's the end. What do you want to add?
I wanted to add that,
Oh, yeah, you wanted the last one.
I want to do the playground.
Oh, yeah.
I want to add that the playground is depicted on the site plans shall incorporate toddler and adolescent play structures.
I didn't know adolescents used play structures.
Oh my God, are you
Sure they
kidding me?
do.
That's where you go to meet boys to flirt with them and have them look at you
And hang upside down.
and hang
Hang
upside
upside
down
down.
Okay.
and talk with
What
your
was
friends.
that?
And pretend
I guess
you're
it's been
scared.
too long since I.
Ruffians.
The playground as depicted on the site plans
Okay.
next to 40 optical, I think 40 is the lower building, right?
Yes.
40 optical shall have maybe play equipment suitable for toddler. And is there anything between adolescent and toddler? I mean, I'm looking at junior high age.
Well, you
What's
might
that?
say,
I call them tweens.
Tweens, but
or you could say
School-age children?
Yeah, you can
Toddlers.
school age children.
Yeah,
toddlers
children.
through adolescence.
Yeah, you could say it that way too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the little kids are before, so I would do toddlers through.
It's actually really insightful, Mike, because the kids, if they don't have a place to go that's engaging them, are going to go wreak havoc and destroy stuff. I mean, I did it, and I was
Well,
a good girl.
I was just thinking that you go put a gym in for adolescents, and you got the ones that really want to go to the play yard. You want to put a little thing for a little 3-year-old that can go up the little slide and go down.
Yeah.
I remember my kids; it was awesome.
Yeah.
Dudley has the combination of both.
You know what, we did
you
the
get it?
one at the West Street
Yeah.
fields,
Shall have
and we did do
equipment for
climbing
toddlers through
things.
adolescence.
Very good,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep,
May I? Are you done?
I'm
Mike?
done.
Okay. So I've been looking into sidewalk compliance. There's something, and Mike, you may be familiar with this, called the Devons Commission for subdivisions and regulations for subdivisions. And many, many, many towns in the Commonwealth require for subdivisions that they have either at least at a minimum sidewalks on one side of the road, and for most subdivisions, they require sidewalks on both sides of the road.
We have that in our
Which-
regs.
we have
do. How interesting, because you're not listed. It wasn't listed.
Yeah, we
Southbridge
have.
was not listed.
Well, that's
We've
sad.
had them for.
Well,
we've
we
had 'em
put
forever.
them in when we updated ours.
They've been in forever.
That's so,
Well, that's
okay.
true.
The
That's
study,
true.
I think, was from 2009. So
Even when we did when Hamer was here, he required concrete sidewalks on both sides and
Yeah.
concrete curbing.
We once only had a 15-page list of regulations. We now have a 90-page.
for
Because we got
subdivisions.
so
Yeah.
screwed in,
Well,
you know.
we're gonna get screwed again, because that's what's coming up with this. But here's my thing. I can't in good conscience vote yes on this without addressing what was missed for 25 K Street in the East Main Street parking lot. I can't in good conscience allow mothers and children to come around the Lensdale gate and be in the road with traffic flows, as they are, especially industrial traffic and so on. I want it to be rectified, and I'm glad that Chip has said he'd consider it. However, I think that there should be something in the conditions. And again, I'm not very familiar with the subdivision regulations for Southbridge, but I did find the Devons Commission rules and regulations.
But see,
And
that wouldn't govern on a private site like this.
so again, we say that, but like as we turn back to condition 4, existing sewer lines, oh no, 3, we talk about for private property, and I said for subdivision, like subdivision regulations, you said yes. And then we did it again. There was somewhere else in here, code enforcement not different on a private parcel for structural bridge analysis? So still, you know,
So he said,
parcel.
he
So how
said
is
he would
this-
agree with it, you want to see it as a condition.
so, yes, so I would like to see security measures taken for pedestrian safety for two reasons. One is because those people are required, their parking spaces are allocated to them on the East Main Street parking lot. So they're required to park there to get to their building on the island. So they have to walk down to their building in the road. And you know, if it was a state road, if it was a municipal road, they would be required to separate pedestrian and vehicular traffic. And so, despite the fact that this is a private parcel, I believe, much like the water lines and the bridge analysis and so on, we should be rigorously working to apply standards that would work in another subdivision, say it were a new subdivision, for example, rather than just rebuilding an old factory. I want to keep people safe.
Right. Important to realize that this is not a subdivision, though.
Sure, I don't know what you would call this, but it's a really big, it's 1,000 people going there.
It's a very interesting, but didn't you say the East Main Street? But
Yeah,
that's not going to, that is not, that's for the 35K Street or
No.
5K
No.
Street, isn't it?
No, the people at 25K Street are parking.
25K is parking up the second half of that parking lot, and you know what? Originally, the intent was they were gonna cross and they were gonna come down and go down the back between the buildings. Because there was no pedestrian access on that. That was the original intent. But you know, people are gonna walk.
Do what they're gonna do.
They're gonna do what they're gonna do. I drove out there, spent some time out there, looked at it. There's no room to put a sidewalk, an actual paved sidewalk. But I think you can probably take 3 feet on the edge of the traveled way, stripe it as a pedestrian, almost like they do bike paths on you see on the roads. You can almost stripe it as a pedestrian walkway, and I think that's the best you're going to be able to do on that. Except the people are going to have to look when they go around the buildings and stuff, because it's just not, even with the buildings, between the building and the banking, there's no room to put access drive and sidewalk in there.
But what did he agree to do?
He said he would look at doing some type of mitigation measures. I think he was thinking of like the bollards or something like that, or some type of vertical stanchion or something like that. I think
It's gonna goof them up with
plowing and stuff like that. So it's got to be something that's removable for the winter.
The road is 25 feet wide, which is the required width for, except at where the building is, where it comes up to the actual Lensdale gate.
Yeah.
And he's going to remove the gate, isn't he?
Well,
No.
we've been talking about that as an option to try and find a way to allow for
Okay.
safe
Yeah,
pedestrian
okay, now I
passage.
remember, because it was that discussion, he said, well, we will address it.
And Helen, who's the chair of the local historical commission, said that she's willing to allow that to happen for safety reasons, so she wouldn't resist, which is good.
But didn't he also say that the federal wouldn't allow it?
Well,
Federal
he didn't,
historical?
he can't say that because he's not on the historical commission for the federal, and if we approached them and said, this is a matter of safety, we would like to do something, how do you recommend we do it? They might come up with a solution, much like Helen did. So, they're not unreasonable people.
I have a way of solving this. Why don't we just put a condition that the applicant shall review, somehow word it where they should review and
Address.
address a plan of action to accommodate pedestrian
Traffic.
along
K
Street between the driveway intersection and the
Bridge.
bridge is even going to be harder getting up past the bridge right there, because you drop down on one side, you're over there. I could see getting it, because if the people are parking there, getting it to the building.
Yeah.
The bridge, I mean, that could be a separate issue, but at least get to
bridge is gonna
25.
walk away.
You got to get to 25. Because I think Pam does have a point. We have parking for 25. The big part of parking for 25 was across the street there.
Yeah.
And people are gonna come down and they're gonna take the path of least resistance. And we never, I know we looked at it and it was gonna go, thought maybe between the buildings, but now you look at it probably, even though this is not a locus, I think we talked about it, the applicant is willing to do something, so let's just make it a condition that he shall create a mitigation plan to separate pedestrian and vehicular traffic along the Lensdale or K Street, along
Yeah.
K Street.
Because since now
Because-
it's going to include 4 buildings.
Yeah.
People will be coming from 40 and 50, especially going to the rail trail. I mean, we're spending $5 million as a town to increase walkability in our town. And the state encourages
See,
that
the
as
thing
well.
is, the problem on this one, they could say, well, 40 and 50 are gonna cross the bridge and they're gonna come right up at the intersection right around the building. They're not gonna walk down K Street.
Maybe, maybe not.
Well,
I mean,
the
if
thing
you
is-
have a bicycle.
That's what they
No,
said.
I agree, this is
Talked about.
not really affecting 40
40 and 50K, but
But
I
the
mean,
problem is, since, what I'm saying,
it's adding additional, yes, it
Right,
is affecting
since
it because
there
we
are
are
now-
adding additional vehicular traffic to the parking lot to get to 40 and 50, so now we wanna do a separation. So that gives us the opportunity to open up that for
because
the
there are
separation.
4 now buildings with housing in them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which makes it more critical. So if we were to say,
Yep,
Being
and I would
as
say,
how this will
being as
be-
the additional traffic,
this would
correct.
be the 3rd and 4th housing,
Yeah.
there's enough that we feel
That the
somehow.
vehicular and pedestrian traffic should be separated along
Separated,
K Street.
shall be separated in a plan presented to the planning board.
Yeah. Thank you. I just,
I mean, the thing is looking at it, like I said, I spent time there, and you know what? I probably wouldn't be this way unless I saw that couple, and I don't think,
What couple?
there was a couple, well, I was parked down there and I was watching, and there was a couple, but I don't think they were quite all there. And they just walked right down the middle of the road, and it's like,
well, and that's what I saw the school children getting off one day. I was driving around the AO
Yeah,
property, and the school kids, they came tumbling off the bus, down the middle of the road, through the Lensdale gate. And I was like, ah! Like, as a mother, you know, they don't go into and they were going to
the
5
kids are gonna
5
take
K
the path of least resistance.
they do.
Well, kids are gonna go up over the hill.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what they're
There's
gonna
a
do.
sidewalk there or not.
Yeah, so that's why I think there's a mitigation. I think if you did a 3-foot painted way, and then in the summer be able to do a couple removable, because people in the winter probably aren't gonna walk that as much. They're gonna go in through the building and walk through the building where it's warm. They're not gonna walk that full length down. Or
So
they're
does
gonna
the
park.
school bus leave them off on
East
East
Main.
Main
They
Street?
have, I have
I
seen
don't
it.
like that.
I have seen it.
Yeah.
I don't like
Jack
that.
Jodan's
Oh,
wife
But
is the one that drives that
can-
route.
That route can change.
It can,
I mean,
right, change.
And
Yeah,
as-
and they-
it should.
more
It's gonna
schools-
have to change
They
because,
change from one year to the next.
and they're gonna have to go in and pick up these kids in this new development, inside the
And
development.
Did
When
we
they-
talk, we talked about that, but that's not in the conditions, actually.
But the thing is that
We
the school
can't-
department, we can't, they're the
We
ones that are
don't
gonna
know
determine
if
it.
there's
We
going to be a
can't
bus stop
require it.
there.
Wait. But what we can require is that the applicant leave their property open to the passage of school buses and WRTA buses, that they allow them on their property as needed.
Can
That's
we?
pushing,
I
it's
think we
pushing the
already-
limits on
I
that.
don't think we.
Why?
Because they said that they would, I know.
They said that
Yeah.
they would, and they already do. The WRTA already goes down there because there's like this, whatever,
Right.
what is that office that's down there that helps people?
Oh,
Whichever, they rent on the property now. The people who were in the Sense of Hope before. The Office for Welfare, food stamps. I don't know
oh,
what
okay,
to
yes.
Traditional assistance?
Transitional
They're down there?
Yeah.
Yes.
And also,
Where?
you know what else used to be down
Must be
there
in the
was
security building
the
on the
job
other side of-
thing, the unemployment, or what they call,
Yeah,
whatever they
yeah.
call it now.
Is all of this ADA compliant? Like,
Yeah, it has
by the
to
way,
be.
it has to be? Okay.
Yeah, has to be. Everything new,
Review that.
everything new has to be.
The applicant shall prepare a mitigation plan to address the separation of pedestrian and traffic along K Street.
Right.
Beautiful.
Between the intersection of East Main and
The bridge.
the proposed 25.
in
Access point
intersection
yeah.
of Main East Main,
Right,
In 25.
and you could,
and 25 K Street.
right,
Yeah.
and if you wanted to, you could say, considering that these will be.
Yeah, I agree.
The
That should be in
third
there.
and fourth housing buildings within this complex.
I would, or maybe said due to the
Increase.
anticipated increased increased
Pedestrian
traffic,
traffic.
increased pedestrian and vehicular traffic.
As a result of this application.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, perfect.
Anticipated increase of pedestrian and
Vehicular traffic as a result of this application.
Yeah.
That
way,
covers,
yeah, it does.
that now gives us the authority to do it.
Thank you.
And-
That was really important to me.
Wow.
Like, just.
I was
being
against
kind
it,
of-
but I mean, sitting out there, you really could see it, and
One of the mitigations
I
in the
kicked
end
myself that we
might be
We
that
missed
they
it.
we
have to
missed it. I
hire.
kicked myself, we missed it.
Missed it on 25.
And you know how they have traffic guidance at the intersections? The town provides them, I think. So after school, there are,
Oh, yeah.
what are they called?
Crossing guards.
guards.
Crossing guards.
Maybe a crossing guard needs to be there as well.
Well, that would be up to the school district.
School committee
But
and
that
everything
would be
else. So
one of the
I think we're
mitigations, I
good.
would think.
Thank you, guys. That was good.
All right.
You know, I wish most of you never got to know Peter Ramirez.
Oh, yes.
But he would have been involved in this discussion, didn't always talk, but when he did, he would come up with a
Yep.
beautifully verbalized plan.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
I miss that guy.
I miss him too.
I worked with him for many years.
Was he always helpful to you?
Well, he was my boss.
He was
at
fantastic.
the AO.
Really?
Yeah, when I
Oh,
worked
wow.
there in the chemical lab, yeah.
No. When I first started, he's the one who worded some very
Well,
articulate.
he came up when we were doing the adult entertainment, was that, or adult uses?
Yeah.
And then when we were doing the homestead,
Home occupation.
home occupation, and then when we were doing, the last one he did was when we were doing livestock on,
Less than 5 acres?
yes.
Yeah.
He was
He
involved in
just-
that?
I thought he was.
I thought that was after Peter passed.
Oh, might have been.
Do you have any staff update?
So you're gonna submit this revised to the attorney tomorrow?
Yeah,
Or
well, what
whatever?
I'd like to do is probably give it to you and Dave and.
Or why don't you
others.
give her a rough stop
Give her a rough,
sign?
I would send her.
Give her
send
a
it-
stop sign and say,
Yeah.
Please don't review this.
yeah.
We changed a few things.
Don't want her to spend
Time,
money
yeah.
on something we don't even have it anymore.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's what I'll do, and.
Who knows, if you
I-
gave
I
it to her
mean-
today, she might not even looked at it yet.
No, I'm
No,
sure
I
she
didn't
didn't.
doubt that
I'm
she
sure
did.
she didn't.
I'm sure she didn't. So I will just email her saying that
Yeah.
the board talked about it this evening and we'll issue her a new version to look at. With that said, I think in addition to that, I am preparing, as I mentioned at the last meeting, and to Dave, that the decision will be, this is gonna be a little more hefty than the way that's
Oh, yes,
currently
it
written.
will.
So, I have written decisions that are like 20 pages. So with that said, I'm including the procedural history for this particular special permit, as well as all of this plan submittals, and ensure that, we have everything reflecting the most up-to-date documents.
Can
that
I
the
see
board
that?
has.
Is that what he?
No, I did not prepare that.
No, but I mean, is that what has been submitted under Eric?
No. Oh, yeah, this is the old, yeah.
Because mine, the ones that I did, I got from an attorney.
No, and that's, yeah.
And
but
they
the
were
thing
like
is-
6 pages.
Right, no, and that's fine. It's just a matter of, I know that.
This one is
This
tough.
particular one is tough.
Yes.
I think because the way what happened and what transpired in 25 K Street, we're just gonna make sure that we document everything.
Tighten it
Well,
up.
the other thing too is we also have to include the 6 findings
That's correct.
as part of that it's a harmony.
And we should all be, between now and when that's happening, we should all be reviewing those findings.
Well, we got the old ones here.
And-
They're actually pretty good. The ones we did for 25K actually are not bad, the findings.
Then
So
let,
I will circulate
Okay.
the old 25.
Circulate this 25 here.
You know what, if you need to make those findings to make a vote.
Yeah.
You really do.
You were
They,
saying
they
about
are
the
actually
staff.
quite well.
Oh, yeah, so with regards to this particular decision, you know, I'll be drafting that. I will share the conditions probably tomorrow. I'll work on this tomorrow. Share it with Mike and Dave, and we'll, you know, send it off to the attorney.
Good.
In addition to that, we were going to use this time to talk about zoning and bylaw amendments in the future. You know, I know that the town council has identified some changes or that they would like to see or addressed.
Yeah, I've heard them.
And so it is.
Look out. Pull up your boots, people.
So, you know, providing the board with
Less
a work
enforcement.
plan and trying to figure out, you know, what the appetite is of the board as it would recommend language to the town council for those changes, for those suggested changes, whether or not, you know, in your public hearing, you obviously understand the merits of the changes that are being requested.
So these are
Wait a minute, back
official
up.
changes.
The town council has recommendations for changing the bylaws stating what we oversee and don't see?
Yes.
Correct.
So they would like to reduce our load in terms of what we have oversight on.
Correct. That's what it's down to. 'Cause let's say it
I mean,
like it
so
is.
it's the
They think
yeah.
we're over regulating.
So it's they've identified a
They're
couple
getting,
of.
you know what, they're getting feedback from people who weren't able to just run up and get what they wanted.
Yep.
So I mean, and the thing is, you know, this happens from time to time, and you know, if there is an experience that happens with a particular applicant and or you know an entity, you know, they're gonna be like, oh, it's time to change the bylaws. But then it's also the planning board's role during that public hearing when it comes time with proposed language. And the thing is, I may be presenting proposed language, and you as the planning board are like, we hate it, so we're not gonna move forward with it. And then you know the town.
Do we
Well, I
vote on
think
it,
we
or
have
can
to-
they unilaterally vote on it?
Well,
You
we
make a
want to
recommendation.
recommend.
Yes.
But, so are they formally, have they formally?
There's no form. They were like, Ken,
Okay,
work
because
with
if
the
they,
planning board.
if they
A
formally did,
negotiation.
we would then have, if they,
Right.
if they formally submitted
Yes.
that, that would be one of the forms of official.
I think there's obviously nuance in this because they're like, let's work with a professional planner who will work with the planning board on, you know, maybe identifying some areas of the bylaw which may be clarified, let's say.
I thought, you know what, it's an organic document.
It'd be
Yeah.
That needs to
wonderful,
be addressed.
actually, if there were issues, rather than suggesting that there might be something wrong, that they actually come and talk to us
So
and
yeah,
say what is specifically wrong.
So the town manager did suggest
great.
that maybe there be some sort of joint meeting
Yeah.
where there is a conversation regarding that. It wouldn't reflect a public hearing. It would be a conversation between the town council and the planning board.
So they have been complaining about us, basically.
Probably me.
No. Me.
They've been complaining about you, did somebody tell you that? Oh, Mike.
But,
Flex
so
your
with that
muscles.
said, there are some, you know, there were some bylaws identified, to look at. I forgot to invite,
Site plan review is one of them.
yes, so there is a review process, it's looking at review processes, et cetera.
Yep.
Also, and, you know, and I know that the board has had thoughts about the way that the bylaw is currently written with this development review team and how that should be handled. So, you know,
We're
we
back
can
to
reflect
development
that.
review team.
They want to do all minors. One of the counselors called me on this.
Well, that
And-
was nice of him or her.
Okay, and just that they think that we're making it too hard on a business that wants to come into town.
And you know what,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
would be
go,
the
go,
first
go to any
ones-
other town. We are the easiest town to get permitting in.
But
I mean,
also,
it's like,
they would be the first ones to complain if a
Something was
business
built
came
beside
in
them.
that
you're right.
kind of made them angry. They'd be complaining.
Was this as a result of one business coming into town or
I
multiple?
think it's just a combination. It's just, they think that we're over-regulating. But that's the planning board's process, but you go to any other town around here, I'll beg them to find a town that is easier to get a permit in. There is none.
So one thing that I think may be low-hanging fruit that maybe the planning board has thought about, and I know that in towns that I've worked with that are a little more dense and have a higher population and some density in the town center, is an infill bylaw. So looking at minimum lot sizes and negotiating them. And you know, you obviously are working off of what the dimensional requirements are for, let's say, the town center or the central core, as well as some of the adjacent parcels. Looking at maybe an overlay district that would relax some of those standards and allow for certain types of development to go into those parcels.
They can relax, and we have the authority to relax the standards on every one of our regulations. So I don't understand that part of it. A dimensional is ZBA, okay?
Right.
But know what? The dimensional requirements they're put in there for a reason. So let them go to the variance and prove otherwise. I'm sorry.
Well,
So
let's
that was
see.
one thing.
We'll do it, you know what?
All right, I think.
You're gonna do it you're gonna do it.
Well, I
You're
mean,
gonna
I
send
will
it out.
be presenting stuff to the
Yep.
board. You know, obviously, the town manager has suggested some bylaw changes. I'll present to the board and, you know, those conversations will happen. I also think that, as Pam was suggesting, have at it. You know,
But like,
with
what's
a-
the rationale?
with a-
That's what I would want to know. And if you bring us a list of changes with no context story
Right, you're gonna
behind
be
them,
like, what is this,
we're like,
Ken?
yeah, no, okay,
This
thanks.
is Ken's
bye.
bylaw.
Like,
No.
we need to hear their story because there might be good reason behind
Yes.
it that we can then work
We wanna
with.
keep an open mind and be objective.
So,
But they
yeah,
have to give
I
it
know
to
that
us.
that was a component of a planning board meet, or a town council meeting a couple months ago. So I can retrieve the minutes, and they do list some certain bylaws.
I'd love to
address.
listen to that.
Yeah, and then, you know, I think that there's probably some housekeeping ones that we probably can consider.
And we gotta compare that with, because we've done all this redlining on all these bylaws. and
Yeah.
They've never followed through with them.
And that's something that I'm scared about, because I'm like looking at these various amendments that are filed under 2022, 2023. I said, what happened? Like, have they gone to the point where?
No.
Nothing has gone.
No, we were
Since
gonna
when?
do a whole bunch.
Nothing's gone since you were, I think.
No, that can't
Well-
be. Nick, you had the
No, we
overlays.
did have at
The
least
overlays,
one.
we
You
had
had
the
the
overlays.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
this-
we had a few.
the subdivision with the last one was December the 16th, 2020.
Yeah.
And I just got this one because I didn't even have it.
We went through, and there's a lot of changes in the subdivision, there's a lot of changes that way, they're all redlined.
So has everybody got a copy of this,
Yes.
Earth
Earth excavation.
Alright.
Yeah.
Are we doing that now?
No, we're not.
Oh, for
But I just wanna
Thank
say
you.
that today I went to see Esteban's, building.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's all got inside, it's all rough framed,
And where is that? I'm sorry.
across from Sacred Heart Church.
Okay, got it. I
Big
remember
white
now.
building,
The
Yep.
youth center.
youth center and all that.
Yes, I remember now.
So, we had a bunch of people
Thanks,
there,
Ken.
Yeah.
people who donated money from banks and businesses. And so, we're showing the whole thing and, looking good. Yeah, it's looking good, yeah. I mean,
From the outside, it's looking.
he's gonna do, rough electrical, rough plumbing, it's coming up, rough HVC.
VAC, yeah.
The outside of the building's all done, as far as the siding and the roof. All the
Let's-
windows are done.
I'm glad he got some support financially.
Yeah. I mean, he.
You know what?
was
I
showing
think,
his
I
vision
think
and-
the vision is there, and I think it's gonna be a huge benefit.
Yeah.
Especially because it's centrally located in town.
Yep.
So all the schools, you know,
And
Yes.
school bus, they've already determined that the school bus stop's gonna be right in front.
Yep.
They've already agreed to it,
Good,
Cops and kids are gonna be there.
Yeah.
It's
good.
Be a good community thing.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
we're,
Hey, I
hang
got
on,
one
just-
question. Can I
Okay, go ahead.
ask one more thing?
Yep.
Can we ask the building inspector how the town gets away with violating their own sign bylaw in front of the town hall? I would like him to enforce the town's
Flash is too slow.
sign bylaw.
It doesn't even look like it goes. It's got that chintzy.
It's got that brightness, it's got the everything on it.
Well, it's got
And
From the town hall?
it's got
Yeah.
trailer
You see it?
like stuff around the bottom.
when you pull out of
instead
here,
real,
well, it might be off by the time, but I'll tell you
No,
one
it's
thing.
on.
When you pull out of here, you can't miss it. And the residents across the street, I just can't believe that there's been no complaints on that yet.
I mean, Sturbridge, Charlton's got one. I think it would have been better off
Dudley
for
has,
the library.
Dudley has one, but it's toned down. It's not as like this one.
I will bring that to attention as I have it ready. I did want to just add one more thing regarding
something too.
your future meeting on April 3rd, which I am trying to be present at, but if I'm not, that's the typical meeting that I'm unable to attend. You do have a public hearing for livestock under 5 acres, so.
Wait, who, where, what, when?
This is for Everett Street. I don't know the address.
and
Everett?
what are they looking for, chickens?
Chickens.
That's nice, I'm glad they applied and asked.
How many acres do they have, do you know?
we still got a nice rooster
It's
on
under
our
5, so,
block.
yeah, it's small.
You got a rooster on your
It's
wall?
probably a
Oh my
three-decker
God,
or
yes.
4 or 6.
I love the sound of a rooster.
I
was
do
staying-
not.
I was staying in my
In the
sister's
In the winter, it
house
doesn't matter as much, but it was
last
there
week.
last.
I was staying at
And
my
then,
sister's
and then a
house.
future agenda item on April 17th, the FEMA team that came to present is going to present again.
So for this little planning, that you were talking about, this zoning, should we have a special meeting for that then? It
I'll work
sounds-
with the town manager to see, the thing is, obviously, we just, the planning board has requested, like, we wanna hear from the town council, right? So I will furnish the minutes and, collect some thoughts. I know that, the building inspector has some ideas about, those changes as well. So I think if we have a meeting that is specific to that, and hopefully no other public hearings, then, we can put on.
I know, it's just, business sometimes
Terry had
gets in the way, doesn't
I
it?
just have one little tiny thing I want
Yes.
to know. We went and voted, and the tree service up there, how are they getting away with all of that?
Benoits.
Yeah,
Where?
Benoits.
up by you call it, I call it a municipal building, but you.
On the
you
backside
call it
of the old armory.
the armory,
Yeah,
up by
When
the
you pull out
armory.
after you vote, you got all the all the equipment.
Oh, all the equipment?
Benoit.
I mean,
It's called the Southbridge Community Center.
Okay, thank you. It's everywhere.
I
mean,
agree.
It's not neat. It's not.
It's messy.
It looks like.
It's been there a long time.
I've never noticed it so bad.
No, it's gotten worse
I
lately.
mean, it's
but,
it's
it is
really out of
pre-existing
hand.
Non-conforming.
It's I don't know how they're getting away with it because it's
I agree.
we wouldn't let anybody else in town
Yeah,
keep their business like
It's outdoor
that.
storage, but it keeps expanding the outdoor
Yeah.
storage.
But it's on the road. I mean, there's.
They're not even. Yeah, you're right. They're not. Some of the equipment's parked in the public way.
Yeah, I mean, it was really unsightly, and to go up to vote in your town and know that that's what you've got.
It's what you're faced when you leave.
Yeah.
It's
Can
kind
we look at that at the next meeting? What would be the regulations that would
There was
apply?
a
Do we
did you have
know?
a previous approval?
Never.
I don't think so. No.
it
That
grew.
was like something that kept growing.
And
It's
there's
almost
a-
a fill link up.
Yeah, there's another one on Dennison
Dennison Drive that did that too.
But that's out in the country and there's a lot more space. This one is.
I can't believe that the neighbors aren't complaining because it's an
The neighbors
eyesore
are his
type thing.
family.
I don't ever.
Oh, well, that's why they're not complaining.
Let's, can we pull up the permit that they have on the property
they
for
don't have it.
business?
There's no permit on it.
So there's no, so then how can you store,
Because it's been there for, if it's been used basically over 5 years, in a way, it's pretty much exempt from zoning.
Well, that
Which is
one-
ridiculous.
That one goes back.
Can we change
probably
that rule?
decades. Well, it's a state.
Ungrandfathered.
That's a
It's
state
a
law,
state
but,
law.
you know.
damn it.
I know
But
it's
you,
tough.
they shouldn't, I mean, it just shouldn't be able to
There's
be
gotta
that way.
be some sort of
Fence it
light.
in.
Yeah.
It's,
I agree.
It almost
but you need to
seems,
drive up and look at it.
Oh, I've
'cause
seen
it's-
it. No, I've noticed
It's
it when I went to
it's an
vote.
eyesore, and it's really
But I
too
wonder
bad.
if you're able to address any sort of expansion by saying, oh, you're
Well,
expanding.
what you'd have to do is you'd have to pull up some historic
Right.
aerial photos and say, look,
that's
this
gonna
has been-
cost somebody a lot of time. But it's very possible, though.
Well, Denise did it on that property. She picked up historic photos and showed the change over time. So it's possible.
She actually took the photos.
Yeah, bless.
Okay,
That's
it
great.
being 9:24, take a motion.
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second.
A second. Discussion? Corey,
Yes.
Arno,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes.
Terry.
Nah.
Mike.
Yes, yes, yes.
Sandy.